So, Berto, have you seen Game of Thrones season 7? Have you seen season 7 Game of Thrones?
I have, yes.
Let's talk about it. What do you say?
Let's do it.
This is the Psychology in Seattle podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. Who are you, Berto?
My name is Humberto Castañeda. I sell solar eclipse glasses.
So we're not going to talk about psychology so much in this episode, maybe a little bit of motivation and that kind of thing. But this episode is not going to have much, if any, psychology talk. We just want to talk about Game of Thrones season 7. Some epic things happened.
Caveat emptor.
Yeah, and so if you're into the podcast, but you don't watch Game of Thrones, my guess is you're not going to want to listen to this.
Spoiler alert.
And also, of course, spoiler, it'll spoil all the way up until the end of season 7, the TV show. So let's talk about that. Part of the reason why I want to talk about it is because I just want to nerd out and see what you have to say about the show. But also, I've been become known in certain I've been making episodes. You haven't ever made an episode of Game of Thrones with me before?
I don't think we've done Game of Thrones, but I know you've done the analysis of the different characters, or not all of them, but different characters and their psychology.
Yeah, I did one on Joffrey because I thought he would be an interesting character to analyze given his childhood, particularly in the books. They go into more detail.
And you did a Ramsay one.
Eventually did, and then the response to the Joffrey one was so big that a year later or something, I did a Ramsay one. Eventually did a Cersei one, the Hound, Theon. And then someone actually contacted me, a journalist, and wanted me to provide some opinion on diagnosing some of those characters. And she asked me to comment on it, and she wanted me to provide, I don't know, she listened to the episode and she said, "So is this the diagnosis you're saying?" And then for some reason, I just had some extra time, and I decided to actually really try to write up a full diagnosis and justification for it.
Right.
And really look into these characters. Even though it was just for this article, I kind of nerded out for a bit.
Yeah.
Which is potentially dangerous, I've learned, because journalists will contact me, and sometimes I don't realize until afterwards that I'm basically just writing their article for them and they get all the credit.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? So
they might quote you, they might reference you, but pretty much it's their article.
Right. They claim everything I was saying in essence was them, and then they might throw in a couple quotes or something, which has happened to me before. It's
That's like plagiarism. Well, sort of, yeah. And so at the while I'm doing it, I'm like, why am I writing this person's article for them? But I was sort of nerding out, and plus there was so much bad stuff on the internet regarding diagnosing the Game of Thrones characters, like top hits. I was realizing it was just so bad out there. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna really try to nail this because a fair amount of people Google Game of Thrones. Sure, yeah.
And so I really tried to nail it, and I sent it in, and then I forgot about it. I didn't, it was just one of those things you do one night and you just forget about it. And then I decided to do a full episode on diagnosing all the characters, kind of spurned by that nerding out. And so I was making that. And then all of a sudden, it's like a month ago or something. Anyway, about a month ago. Would have been July, I think, 2017-ish. All of a sudden, people are texting me and emailing me. I say, I saw your article. I saw your article on Game of Thrones, and I'm like, what article on Game of Thrones? Actually, I should back up and say that it was really my 15 minutes because the day before, everyone was saying, Kirk, I saw your article in the Monitor, because there was this other article that I did an interview for regarding difficult clinical moments.
Oh, okay.
And the APA Monitor is like the magazine in my industry. It's like, what's the biggest magazine? Time? I don't know. What do people read these days?
Sure, but like Wired is for tech and stuff.
Right, exactly. Yeah, there's a bunch of magazines that we read, but APA Monitor is like the biggest,
Wow.
And I totally had forgotten about that interview as well. And so people are like, hey, I saw your article in APA Monitor. And I'm like, oh my God, colleagues or, people I respect, because the AP Monitor is read by psychologists a lot. So,
so it's people in the industry.
Yeah, mucky mucks. And so they're like, Kirk, and then people are like emailing me about it. And then the very next day, people are like, hey, I saw your article. And I was like, oh yeah, the one in the Monitor. They're like, no, the one in Business Insider about Game of Thrones. And then like people are sharing it. And like
that's hilarious.
my niece she was saying, yeah, my friend shared this with me and said, you got to read this. And then I was reading it and I was like, oh my God, it was you. It was like one of those kind of days where it was being spread around.
It would have been hilarious if they had gotten the articles mixed up. So people are like, saw your Monitor article about Game of Thrones.
Right. It kind of felt that way. It was like this 2-day span. And I really felt like, and they were erroneously calling it my article. Neither one of these articles were mine. They both just quoted me heavily and weren't plagiarizing me in that way.
I see.
Especially the Business Insider article. They basically just quoted me the entire time.
But they gave you credit for those quotes.
Right. And it was almost like just word for word what I was saying.
Yeah, I read it. It was great.
Yeah. So it was interesting. And I suddenly started getting calls from different TV shows wanting me to appear to talk about Game of Thrones and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know, it was just a little which is funny because, in my regular job, I have nothing to do with Game of Thrones.
Right.
It's like, it's just a show I watch, but it's funny to be kind of wrapped up into that,
You're the expert on Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah. Well, in a way, I have become not the expert, but an expert because of all of this, people asking me, it forces me to really think about it. And then and then I've done all these episodes and blah, blah, which has really made watching the show much more pleasurable because I'm like, when I'm watching the show, I have a deep knowledge of everything that's happening,
sure, yeah.
And
plus, you've read some of the books?
I read all the books prior to the TV show.
Okay.
So when the TV show came out, I was really skeptical. I thought it would suck. It's like you have this, just this sweeping story, just hundreds of pages of books, all these characters, and I was like, this is gonna be bad. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like you think fantasy and dragons and stuff. It's just like this is. And then I watched the first season, and I was like, actually, this isn't so bad. At the time, no one was watching it, though. It was just, I think, Game of Thrones nerds that were watching it the first season. And then somewhere around like the Red Wedding or something, second season, suddenly everyone was starting watching it. Anyway.
Yeah, I think that one garnered a lot of attention.
Yeah.
I have had HBO for so long that I can't remember. So anytime there's something new that's interesting, I try to check it out. But
so maybe you started watching it right from the start?
I definitely watched the first season when it was still coming because I remember seeing the season finale when it came out. It was like shocking, Right. It was the first show to do that.
Yeah.
Just acts a main character.
Yeah.
Like for reals, not like, I don't know, you might come back.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, I don't know why I just want to start with that, but just been a little journey this summer of 2017, and I suspect like come 2018, 2018, that sounds funny. 2017,
that's weird.
2017 sounds like a year. 2018 sounds like two numbers.
Don't tell me we're close to 2020.
We're close to 2020.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, anyway, so I wanted to talk about season 7 with you, Berto. So let's do that. Episode 1, I'm just going to walk us through the plot, and then you just chime in what you think.
Sounds good.
So it starts off with, you remember the first scene, episode 1?
Of the season?
Yeah.
It's the revenge of the nerds.
Yeah. At the twins, Arya poisons all those guys.
Yeah, it was pretty epic.
What'd you think of that scene?
Well, it was great because, there's this little theory out there that I half subscribe to, but I half don't, which is that Arya really died in that encounter with the blonde girl. But then, that doesn't explain most of what she's done this season.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, it did at the time because it's like they didn't show us the death. The other girl was way more experienced than her. The guy, the head of the Assassin's Creed or whatever, did not react at all the way you would expect him to react. Because technically, was that what they're trying to teach her? Or were they trying to teach her to be no girl? Or was that what they meant by no girl? Anyways, but I digress. My point is
the logic of those people didn't make a lot of sense to begin with.
That's fair.
And she, even though the other girl was probably better and wasn't injured, she had been practicing in the dark all that time with because she was blind.
Yeah.
Whereas the other girl had not practiced being blind, presumably. You know what I mean? And so she got her while she, you know. But the fact that she recovered so fast and wasn't injured was a bit of a...
That, and also the other thing that gave me so much suspicion is that it was Game of Thrones. Now, to be fair, more recently Game of Thrones
we're
has
beyond
become...
the books, yeah.
But now Game of Thrones has become a lot more Hollywoodized, and it's more predictable.
And that episode was the Hollywood style.
Yeah.
That was way beyond the books.
Yeah.
But they probably just should have had her still kind of reeling from the wound a little bit, just because it looked like she was completely unwounded.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was sort of keeping tabs on that too, to think like, would they really do that? But as I watched this season 7, I think I'm 99.9.
Yeah. Well, to put it this way, if they did it now, then I'd be even more pissed off, because now they're doing that would be the trick where they go to 99% showing you that it's not, and then there would be no way to explain all those scenes. Like, why does she care about Jon deeply and personally? Like, that wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah,
so,
none of it. Plus, Bran would detect her.
Yeah, that's what I also realized. I'm like, he's got to see through this. Okay, and that scene was like, all right, I guess it is Arya. So at the beginning of the season, that was also another one of those, okay, I guess it must be Arya, because like, she's taking revenge for her family and her list, and the other girl, would she really care, and stuff like that. And it was awesome to see how badass she becomes, right? And also, they hadn't started to make her annoying yet. So in that episode, it was still the Arya.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
You got a hot take that we can talk about later.
Yeah.
So here's a question. So you haven't read the books?
I never read the books, no.
But you have a sense of the difference between...
I have had conversations with folks that have read the books and had some discussions about it, but I not deeply.
Well, one of the differences between the season 6, so last season was post books, and now season 7 is also post books. The difference is that George Martin never let us be satisfied, right?
Right.
Arya fights all the way to the Vale, only to have a guard tell her that Lysa is dead.
Right.
But inside is Sansa, but the guard doesn't say that, because Sansa is acting like she. So Arya and Sansa are so close to each other.
Right.
And Martin's like, I'm gonna write this in a way that will not satisfy you. Robb Stark is going south and gets killed. Ned Stark, like every time there's a chance for something to go well, it always goes badly.
Yeah, that was one of the things I adored about the show, was that it basically gave me a chance it forced me to experience a different kind of storytelling, which is not normally what we're used to.
Right. Arya actually, when she cashes in that coin, she could go anywhere, including Winterfell.
Right.
But she doesn't go to Winterfell. She goes to Essos, I think, right? And to, train with the faceless ones, right?
Yeah.
Faceless. And that was dissatisfying, because you wanted her to go home. Yep. She had this opportunity. She could go home, but she decided not to. And she could have died over there in that. So that's the way Martin writes. And so do you think that Arya in Martin's universe would actually get a chance to completely wipe the Frey house off of Westeros?
It's one of those, like, if she did, it would be maybe in frustration of some other thing,
Yeah.
And that's why I suspected that I think Arya just died. That's why I had that feeling, like, if I were reading a normal Game of Thrones book or whatever, I feel like, did you fucking just kill Arya? What?
Yeah.
Right?
Now, having said that, I loved this scene. When this was just 7 weeks ago, right? So I remember just being like, oh no.
Yeah.
I mean, I just felt so good to watch all those fuckers die.
Yep.
Okay, and then we see another scene. The White Walkers are marching toward the wall.
Which, by the way, that was the other frustrating thing. It's like, it's one thing to make the joke that, winter has been coming for 7 seasons and stuff. That's fine. But they've shown us the walking towards the wall for ages, it seems like. And so I'm like,
if they're really that slow, can we just all run in circles and outrun them permanently?
Well, it's a storytelling trope because you have to at least start off the season. So you start off the season with the Arya scene is sort of like that first James Bond scene, where it's like disconnected kind of from the main story. Who cares about the phrase? And then you got to start the first real scene, which is the second scene. You got to say like, here is the main point of the rest of these shows is winter is coming. But yeah, I thought it was pretty great. And we see giant whites.
Yes, that is cool. You see the giants.
Now, there's a lot of people talking crap about White Walkers and this sort of thing. And all I have to say, and maybe I'll say it again, is that there's so many ways the directors and the writers could screw up this story. It's really hard to tell a story about zombies and, and to direct zombies, to make them look scary and dead, yet not like super twitchy and what all the other zombie shows. There's a very fine line between scary and
goofy
and totally dumb. Yeah. And I feel like the producers and the directors and the writers did an excellent job with that. Yeah.
Especially when seeing those giants,
you're
like, oh shit,
Yeah. So kudos to them for that. All right. And then we see Bran and Mira arrive at the wall, and Talet lets them in. This was a big scene, but it sort of got glanced over.
Right.
Because, Bran and Mira have been wandering
forever.
The wasteland ever since Theon took Winterfell.
Yeah, there was a whole season we barely saw him.
Yeah. Yeah, they've been wandering the north, and then they went north of the wall, and then they've been wandering north of the wall. I mean, this is them returning to civilization after a long time.
And presumably, if the White Walkers were really so fucking far away from the wall, that would mean these guys were far away from the wall at some point.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we see that Bran is different now. He's different.
That's right. He's illuminated.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
So they spelled that out pretty early on. From the very beginning when he lost his ability to walk, I think they started showing us that turned something on inside of him or something. But now it was not only the fact that he could see all these things, but he's sort of like becoming less Bran. Right? He's
he even says that. Yeah. He says, Mira's like, you seem so cold, like you don't care. And Bran says something to the effect of, I'm not that Bran that you used to know. I'm someone different now.
I'm no longer, what is it? There is no, what's the name in Ghostbusters? What's her name? The
gatekeeper?
Sigourney Weaver's character's name.
Gorn or Zorn?
No, there's Zool, right?
Zool.
But Sigourney Weaver's character's name is... Because it's like, there is no Dana. Oh, Dana. There is no Dana. There is only Zool.
Oh, God. The longest setup to a joke ever.
Yes, it's too bad.
So people kind of don't like this online. They think that Bran is acting kind of dumb. But I like it because imagine...
Dumb?
Yeah. They're like, he's acting too weird or, like it seems cheesy to them or something. But to me, it's like, imagine you're Bran and you can see everything. And everything in the past at any time, you would probably get a little weird. Plus, as has been said before to Bran, is the longer you spend in the warging and the time traveling, the more you lose yourself.
Yeah.
You become something different.
Yeah, I get the sense that like the Three-Eyed Raven is sort of like a thing that possesses these vessels, and the vessels themselves become less and less whatever they were before.
Yeah.
And that is what seems to be happening.
Right. So I kind of respect that. He's above it. And plus he knows things. But actually they laid it out, which is interesting because they said he can't see the future. He can see what's happening now, and he can see what's happening in the past, which is interesting.
That's right. And then he when he met the old man that was the previous Three-Eyed Raven, because I seem to recall that guy didn't tell us almost anything, if at all, about who he was before he was the Three-Eyed Raven.
Well, the theory is that that's Bran at another time.
Fair enough. Something. And so that even more so to say that whether he was or wasn't, at that point, that entity was just a Three-Eyed Raven, not, well, I used to be the gatekeeper for such and such, but then I became the... No, he was just a Three-Eyed Raven.
Oh, I don't know. What I think is going to happen, and God knows, is that at some point, Bran is going to warg completely into another body in the past.
Oh,
and
I see.
then as a young person, and then that person will be Bran as the Three-Eyed Raven. He will grow old, go north of the wall, and join with that tree, and wait for Bran himself to approach him. I don't know.
Could be.
I've heard other people say stuff like that too. So anyway, there's also a theory that Bran is the Night King. Have you heard that?
Well, he looks a lot like that.
Yeah,
the Night King looks a lot like Bran.
Especially now, because the Night King used to have a smaller nose.
Yeah,
but since Bran's nose has gotten bigger, so has the Night King's.
Yes.
What do you think about that theory?
Well, I mean, they do look alike, right? But as to whether it could or could not be, it's one of those, like, it's fiction, so... they can make anything happen.
Yeah,
right?
I don't think so. Because the Night King is actually a specific human. He's one of the first men who the Children of the Forest converted into the Night King to defend from other men who were invading their land. And
I mean, they would have to just explain the whole thing, because right now there's no evidence why it would have to be.
Right. Right. Plus, that would imply that Bran has the ability to warg into the White Walkers.
Yeah.
Which, if Bran could do that, then, geez, this whole thing would be over, right? So,
in fact, we've seen the opposite, right?
Right.
We've seen his raven flying, and then the Night King looks at the raven, and that destroys the connection,
right?
And scares the hell out of
exactly.
Bran.
Yeah. So, all right. So we go to Winterfell, and this is a lot of these quotes are from Wikipedia, by the way, in terms of the plot. At Winterfell, despite Sansa's disapproval, Jon secures the loyalties of houses Umber and Karstark, who fought alongside Ramsay in the Battle of the Bastards. So, Berto, should Jon have destroyed these two houses and given their lands to more loyal Stark bannermen?
Oh, right. No, I mean, I agreed with his decision, because what happens is that I think his logic was sound. It wasn't the kids; it was the parents. They were punished. And
they died,
and now there could be all this resentment because those died. So the only way to possibly kind of undo that resentment is to say, like, but now all is forgiven. Now he's taking a chance, because humans are humans, and they could be resentful anyways. And it's the opposite of the approach of, like, no, I'll kill all my enemies and all their children and all this stuff. But I personally think he did the right call.
Yeah, there's no other Ramsay in the bunch as far as they know. There's no one to rally a rebellion,
right?
There'd be no reason for any faction to because they're the ones who know that the White Walkers are coming, and so why would you decide to rise up against Jon? And so,
and especially considering that him, more than almost anyone else, has the actual threat so present in his mind that he's like, what matters right now?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We see Littlefinger scheming. He's happy that Jon and Sansa are fighting. Yeah, we see all that. And then I just love all the scenes between Jon and Sansa. I thought that was written really well. Sansa brings up her points, which are understandable. Jon brings up his points.
And it's great because Sansa is no longer a sniveling snot, like spoiled brat. She's now actually, like, making sense. We might disagree with her, but she's making sense.
Right.
And she's trying to challenge Jon in a way that Jon does need to be challenged.
Yeah.
Because he was like the reluctant leader. So, like, well, dude, grab it by the balls now.
Yeah.
You are the leader.
Yeah, and you got to be ruthless.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. So I just love all that Stark sibling talk stuff. I thought it was really great.
And by the way, Jon is not a good strategist.
Yeah.
So he does need help.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's not super happy about being King of North, and so Anyway, what do you think about Sansa's outfit in this season? She has that like golden ring with a chain through it.
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it? It almost looks like she's shackled herself.
Yeah. It was sort of interesting. And I love that scene with the Lady of Bear Island where she's like, you know,
is that the girl, the young kid?
She's like, you know, are you telling me that I can't fight Karstark or something?
Oh yeah, because they were saying like, what do you expect women and children to fight?
Yeah,
and it's like, yep, and then she says that.
She says like I don't need your permission to fight.
Yes,
every man, woman, and child will be bearing arms for Bear Island. And then like, God, that she is just the best. Those scenes are just so great.
Isn't she in a movie? She's like in something else, right?
Oh, I don't know. Let's see. We see the heirs of House Umber and Karstark. They're just these young kids, which is great. And this is something that they don't show in the TV show very well, is that a lot of these houses, for various different reasons, particularly now, are ruled by children.
Yeah.
And in that episode, they show that. And it's something that we as contemporary people don't understand. But but that's the way it worked in medieval times in Europe, and I guess around the world, was because of the nature of the heir and blah, blah, blah. Sometimes, you know, a 5-year or even an infant would be king. I don't know if that's ever happened. But the point is that and you were considered to be old enough to rule at the age of like 13 or something.
That's right.
And get married and have kids and that kind of stuff. So it's something that is in the books for sure, but the TV show doesn't do it because the TV show has been going on now for 7 years, right? So all the child actors have grown 7 years older. Yeah. But guess how much time has passed since in Westeros time, since the beginning of the show?
2 years?
Right. So it's something along those lines, maybe even less.
Yeah.
And so, for instance, and also they chose actors who were older than the characters slightly, so that, because, you know, older kids are better actors,
of
right?
Course.
And so for instance, how old was Joffrey, do you think, when he became king?
The actor or the character?
The character.
Oh,
in the books.
12.
Yeah, so he was 13 or 12.
But he looked like 16 in the show or something.
Yeah. What about Tommen when he becomes king? How old do you think he was?
Ooh, 10.
8.
8?
8 or 9, yeah.
Oh, crap.
John, how old is John now?
Well, that was the Tommen's really awkward one because he has sex with his wife, right?
With, I don't know if in the books they have sex. Right. But anyway, okay. John, how old is John at the end of the book series, the book 5?
Oh,
at basically the time of this season.
Yeah, I guess I'm just gonna shoot low. So 18.
Close, 17. Great. Okay. Robb Stark, how old was he when he died?
Oh, an old man of 40.
No, Robb Stark.
Oh, Robb Stark.
Not
like
King Robb.
25.
Nope. 15 or 16.
No way.
Well, he was younger than John because Eddard wasn't even married yet.
I didn't even realize. I actually thought he was older than.
No.
Oh shit.
Jon Snow's the oldest.
Oh, that's crazy. Oh, the other thing is that this doesn't give you the sense of.
Or wait, I could be wrong about that. Jon Snow could be the exact same age as Robb Stark. But anyway, go ahead. But
it's funny because it doesn't. You're right, because the actors they look older and they sort of like make them older anyways.
Yeah, they make them look older.
And I think they imply older ages even if they're supposed to be young.
Because no one wants to think about a 16-year-old king. No one respects that.
Right, especially because there's so much sexuality and things and others.
Right.
But also the sad part about it is that would explain a lot more of the irrational decisions and the impulsiveness and things like that.
Yeah, Robb Stark was about 15 or 16 when he died.
Right.
All of that, he was king of the North, fighting, battling, putting people to death.
Pregnant 15-year-old wife.
Yeah, just, heading south.
Wow.
How do you think Sansa is right now?
So Sansa should be like 18 now, or 16.
No, 14. She's younger.
She's 14?
Yeah, she's 14.
That makes Littlefinger even dirtier.
Arya,
Dirty finger.
How old's Arya at the end of the books?
At the end of the book, she's 12 then.
Yeah, so 10 or 11.
Yeah, so she looks, in reality, Sansa in reality, like as an actress, now looks 21 probably.
Right. And probably is in real life, you know.
And Arya looks like
What about Bran?
16 or
How old's
17.
Bran at this point?
13.
He's 8.
What?
And Rickon, how old do you think Rickon is?
Holy shit.
So Rickon's the youngest.
Well, then he'd be like 6 or
Yeah,
something.
he's 4 or 5.
But Rickon is dead, right?
He's dead, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Rickon 4 or 5. Bran's 8 or 9 years old.
That's incredible.
Arya is just a year older, like 10 or 11. Sansa's about 14. Anyway,
I need to.
so let's take a break because you need to take a break. All right, we're back from the break. If you haven't become a patron yet, please do so. Go to patreon.com, become a patron of the podcast. You'll get access to all of our premium episodes in which we do deep dives on various different things. Also, please tell a friend or a colleague about the podcast, because
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth is a big deal, especially if you're in the field and you hang out with other clinicians. Also, rate us on iTunes. That helps us because it bumps us up in the rankings. So people, when people
Right.
search for psychology podcasts, it helps. Plus, it's always interesting to read your reviews. Also, remember that there's a Facebook fan group.
That's right.
So we have the regular Facebook page that we run, and then we have a Facebook fan group that we don't run, and I don't even look at it because I just want the fans to have a
Their own
place
playground.
where they can do whatever they want. It's run by famous patron Lyndon. Facebook fan group. Go there. There's some lively conversations there. Sometimes, Berto, you participate in that.
You know, I have this vision of all these therapists hanging around in a field.
Yeah.
Because you were saying like it's part of the field and
Yeah.
they're all hanging around.
It's pretty much that. Yeah. Okay, so at the Citadel, Samwell Tarly steals books that reveal a large reservoir of dragonglass in Dragonstone and sends word to Jon. I like how we have a hero in the story that's a book nerd.
Yes.
You know,
And this was very satisfying because at first they were sort of trying, well, I don't know if the books were, but they were trying to make me feel like Sam could become a hero, but I'm like, this is going to feel really forced. But then they're like, what if he was a book nerd?
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I'll buy that.
Yeah. And that's totally Martin, right? Because he's a book nerd.
Yeah.
So. I have a theory as to why I thought about this today. So you haven't read the books, so you don't understand, but people who have read the books understand this, is that the first book and a half, maybe 2 books, is pretty much like the TV show.
Okay.
Where everything is happening. It's interesting. The characters that he kind of sticks to those main characters: Tyrion, Sansa, Theon. I think Jamie. Not sure, but anyway, there's these Arya. There's these very satisfying chapters.
Right.
Pretty soon, Martin starts to diverge from those stories, and he starts talking about these other people.
Unrelated.
In the world, but
Yeah.
very tangentially related to the main plot.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's writing one of the books, and he's like, I don't know, at some process of writing it, and he's like, you know what, this book is too long. And he's only writing about one time period.
Uh-huh.
You know, he's writing about the next time period, and he's like, this book is turning into, it's too big. It's too, so he writes 2 different books.
Huh.
But both books are just of the same time period.
Oh.
So I think it's book 4 and 5 or 3 and 4 are basically at the same time. Different
see.
events happening at the same time.
Interesting.
So he just keeps branching out and out and out. And by the time he gets to book 5, he is writing about characters that I could care less about. There are characters that have full stories in the books that you've never even heard of. Uh-huh. There's like a Dornish girl who you've never even known.
Right.
There's another Targaryen actually who they don't have in the TV show because it's stupid that Martin even started to include. I mean, get back to Daenerys, get back to Sansa, get back to Jon. And every time I would get to one of the chapters, he'd be like, rando person perspective. I'm like, oh, and like it's like, and if I remember right, I think the Dornish girl is basically like stuck in the castle, and she doesn't even have any like thing that she does that's interesting. And and so I'm sort of reading between the lines because it's supposed to be a 7-book series, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, there's no way he's going to. I mean, with the pace he's going, there's no way this is going to be 7 books. And he's also talking about how he's getting older, and he really wants to make the book perfect. And
yikes!
And he's been writing the 6th book, I think, since before the TV show came out, actually.
So there's been no book that came out during the TV show?
No. I think he's been writing book 6 for the past 8 years or something, maybe. I don't know. He's released like sample chapters that might actually change when he publishes it. And there's no reason. So let's say he gets done with that one. My guess is, I think he's been hinting that there might be 8 books, but the thing is I can't see how he's going to wrap it up in that time. So here's my theory. He's a Dungeons and Dragons player.
Uh-huh.
And I think in fact, the first time I came into contact with George Martin was he had written short stories for the Dungeons and Dragons magazine called Dragon. And it was a story about Pike, the drowned gods. It was so interesting. It was this It was this really, this is from memory, but it was this really in-depth story about one guy who was in Pike with Theon, Greyjoy, and those people, and he wanted to be a priest. And the only way you can become a priest, and they worship the drowned god, which isn't one of the 7. It's I think it's one of the old gods.
Okay.
And so they worship the drowned god, and so in order to become a priest of the drowned god, you have to drown and die. And then be resuscitated.
Like the fire, you have to...
Yeah, like baptism or something. Yeah. But you have to die. Your heart has to stop, and you have to stop breathing. And so there's this ceremony that you go through in which you're drowned, and then you're brought back, and then there's this whole ceremony, and they talk about like the salts and the sea and just all this. How he's just this great writer, and I remember reading. Normally those short stories in Dragon, I'm just sort of like, whatever. But some reason this one really got me, and I remembered it. And then years later, when the book started coming out, I was like, wait, this is sounding familiar to me. And then I was like, oh, it's the same guy. Anyway, so he played Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons is just like this.
Yeah.
There's like side plots. Campaigns never end.
Now, the point is for it to never end.
Right. There's like typical Dungeons and Dragons campaigns, like the epic ones that I think George Martin is still a part of, by the way, never end.
Right.
There's never a resolution. There's only just more.
There's loops. There's little. There's more arcs. And
arcs, but there's always like another thing around the corner there's always options. You got to keep the story rolling. And so I think that's the way he writes is he's not thinking about an ending. He's just like, I just want to keep writing the story.
Right.
I don't think I think he's like, winter is coming, but I might not ever get to that. And imagine that. Imagine if he publishes the next book and half of it is written about characters we don't care about. And the story only moves forward like a barely. And I'm guessing it's not going to be anything like season 6 of the TV show.
Right.
And then imagine he never writes another book. I mean, imagine that. Because he's not young. I think he's in his 60s or something. He's, now maybe he'll live to be 150, who knows, but I'm concerned.
I see. But the last season's going to get written with or without him, right?
Right. Well, so that's the thing is he's even coming out and saying things like the TV show has gone way off of what
I can imagine.
Yeah. That's not the exact quote he said. I think he said something like, in the TV show, there's something like 40 people who are dead who are not dead in my book.
I see.
You know what I mean? Because so many people have died.
Yeah.
Because the writers have I think wisely decided we need to get rid.
Trim.
Yeah. Because again, Martin just keeps adding and adding.
Yeah.
And so anyway.
And even with all that, there's still a ton of characters. So
right.
like this season had a dual problem. One was that there's still a lot of characters, but the flip side of it is as everyone now starts colliding, now is where things are getting a little too Hollywood here and there, and rushed.
Yeah, very rushed, and people are very conveniently being in the same place at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which we'll get to, but most of that I'm fine with because I'm such a nerd for this stuff, and I feel like the screenplay people are doing a good enough job that I just love it. You know, it's sort of like when I watched episode 7. When you and I watched episode 7, I walked out of that movie like thinking I had just had the best movie experience of my entire life. Is it objectively the best movie that was ever made? No, it's because it's because I'm a big Star Wars nerd. Yeah. And when it comes to Game of Thrones, I'm such a nerd that I just really like it.
You forgive a lot of things that you wouldn't know otherwise.
Right, because it's just like I just want more of it. I'm just so happy.
I feel similarly. There are a few things that really pissed me off that I think the ending of this season made up for a little bit. But and then the other thing was that with the characters that are still alive, time travel, not time travel. Sorry,
we'll get to that.
Okay, sorry.
So we see Sam cleaning a bunch of poo and pee. Did you like that scene?
Yeah, well,
it was a montage.
Yeah, it was showing us the traditional kung fu scene where the kung fu apprentice has to do all the shitty work.
Yeah, I liked it because I thought so. At first, I was like, "Oh, this is kind of clever." They're like having a lot of scenes where he's like, dumping and puking and dumping and puking, and then it just kept going and going.
It was Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah, I was like, this. They've done a lot of work. I mean, because as a sort of amateur filmmaker myself, I'm like, this whole montage took like weeks to make because you have to set up every single set, every single shot, every lighting, every prop, and everything's different. You know, it's just like there's like I don't know, like 50 different little second scenes. You know, and so I was like, man, this is impressive that they did it. And then of course they smash cut to someone eating soup.
Yeah. Wait, by the way, though, that is an example because what I was about to say was actually simply that in the first season, travel took a long time.
Yeah.
Like I remember when they were leaving Winterfell to go to King's Landing, like that wasn't like cutscene now that they're in King's Landing.
It would take like a season for them.
And that scene that you're talking about felt along the lines of the old school, where it was, they're showing us the slog that it is and the thing.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of the things happening now, it's like instant.
Yeah. Which I totally am fine with.
Yeah.
I can suspend my sort of, I don't know. It's not even suspending disbelief. It's just like, one, I don't want to see the slog anymore. I want to see the resolution of these stories. And I know you only have so much money and so much time. So by all means, skip the scenes where we watch Jon riding a horse up and down, all of Westeros.
In fact, they did way too much of that in the second to the... Or in one of these last episodes where they were walking and talking, walking and talking,
right.
walking and talking.
Well, some of that I like because you get these little moments between the Hound and Brienne and stuff. But anyway, the point is that, you're thinking about like North of the Wall probably, right?
No, there's been many cases where they're doing the Aaron Sorkin that does like the West Wing and all this.
Oh, yeah.
It's like walk and talk, walk and talk, walk and talk. No action, just walk and talk.
Yeah, but anyway, I like the skipping in time and I'm okay with it because I can imagine in my head, okay, 3 months later. You know what I mean? Like they don't say 6 months later. They just smash cut and I think it doesn't take a genius to say, this is probably like several months in advance.
I agree. At the same time, one thing that bugs me, the characters mentally feel like they also skipped. And because like if you think about 3 months ago, what you were doing, it's not present in your mind as if it was the previous scene.
Right.
And there's some of that where they go to the other one and all the characters are like almost no time passed.
Right. Which, kind of makes some sense because again, they only have so much. I mean, do you know why they only made 7 episodes? I mean, this is one of the most popular TV shows of all time. HBO is making hand over fist for this. Making money hand over fist. Why would they limit the last 2 seasons to 7 episodes?
They're having a hard time writing it, maybe?
I don't know, man. It doesn't make any sense because it seems like this now would be the time to extend it to like 20 episodes or 15 or 13 or something. Like, why only limit to 7? It seems the only thing I can think of is they're like, well, the fans have such a high expectation for this show now that we need to spend a lot of money on each scene to really make everything great.
Right.
And so we could make 10 episodes that are kind of good or 7 episodes that are really good.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm like, well, I don't know, just make 10 episodes that are kind of good. I don't mind. Tell more of the story. Like, why does it have to be all crammed in,
Yeah.
Anyway, so at Winterfell, we see Tormund continue he's crushing on Brienne. What do you think about that whole thing?
Oh, the redheaded dude?
Yeah, Tormund.
Yeah. That's a little levity to the whole situation.
I think it's hilarious. I just think it's the best. I wonder if Martin will include that because I don't think that's in the books. But anyway, okay. Now here's a scene that I genuinely thought was stupid, especially when episode 2 came out. Was Sam goes up to one of the jail cells and is handing the food, and then a hand emerges and does a jump scare. Do you remember that scene?
Yep.
And it's like, what was that? And then I'm thinking, wait, is that Jorah? Is Jorah turning? Because that's the whole thing about the dragon scale, they call it, I think, stone skin or something. Anyway, that condition that Jorah had, you start to go crazy and basically you become like a feral animal.
Right.
And in all the other scenes after that, he was fine.
Yeah, he was totally normal.
But in this one scene where they want you to have a jump scare,
it's like,
yeah, and it's like, I just thought that's a trope that you don't need in this show.
It's the whole, hey, like character comes up.
Yeah.
Hey, it's like, damn it, why'd you scare me like that?
Exactly. In the Riverlands, Arya meets a group of friendly Lannister soldiers.
No, she meets a famous pop star,
Ed Sheeran, who and she jokes that she's going to kill Cersei, and they all joke, they all laugh.
I felt that scene was weird.
Why?
First of all, the Ed Sheeran thing took me way out of immersion.
Yeah. Because
they didn't it wasn't like a silent cameo. It's like he's freaking singing. They focus in on his face and he's like, hello. And I'm surprised he didn't have a little label. This is Ed Sheeran.
Yeah. And he looked just like Ed Sheeran. And he had a haircut that was kind of like the one he has in real life.
So it was like, what are you doing? And then the whole scene sort of felt pointless.
Well, so here's my thing.
Okay.
That's why I love this scene. I mean, the whole Ed Sheeran thing, I actually saw Ed Sheeran live once, so I kind of, on accident, but I kind of like him in a certain way. So it's not, so I was like, oh, it's Ed Sheeran. That's kind of cool. And, he's English, right?
I love his music. I love his voice.
And he's a humble guy. He's not like, I don't know, Madonna or somebody, he's not. So I'm fine with that. But the scene I loved because of what you're saying. It meant nothing. I mean, especially now, because I thought, well, maybe they're setting up something where Arya's going to kill them all later or something. But we never see those characters again, as far as I can tell. Right. And it's just this tiny little moment where this girl who is wise beyond her years and tough beyond her years. By the way, she's only like 10 at the time. Yeah. In the TV show, she looks like she's, 15 or something. Yeah. And she comes across these Lannister, and we see that the Lannister army is now filling its ranks with a bunch of young kids because so many people have died.
That's true. Yeah.
And so we see that these are humans, that these are the evil army, Lannister army, and we see that they're just normal people.
That's a fair point.
And they're good.
Yep.
Like there's a moment because you're just like, oh God, are they going to kill her? Are they going to rape her? Like, what are they going to, like, something bad is going to happen, or someone's going to come upon them and kill them all. Yeah. But like nothing happens. Just this little moment, totally fine. There's nice little moments where, young soldiers are having a meal and singing a song and welcoming a guest. And like that can happen in this world. This is what I really liked about that scene.
That is a fair point. Maybe what was a little difficult was that it started off on the wrong foot for me because the appearance of him was made too blatant, and then it's maybe spoiled the scene. And then the other thing, and this actually I wouldn't fault it because I want it to be more like this, but they had started to make Arya feel too cold. I'm just a killer.
Right.
Whereas in that scene, she was like a total normal person.
Right.
And that felt out of character, but I don't want it to be out of character. I actually want her to be more like that. So,
right.
Yeah.
Then we see Thoros, the Brotherhood without banners.
Right.
Shows Sandor Clegane the vision in the fire. The revelation leads him to believe that the Lord of Light actually exists. The Hound is like, whoa, the Lord of Light is a thing, and it's fire, and the Hound is terrified of fire.
Yeah, afraid of fire.
Yeah. And I sort of like that we didn't see his vision because like another screenwriter would have definitely shown us what he saw.
Right.
Whereas all we see in this scene is the Hound staring into the fire, and he's like, I see a mountain. It looks like an arrowhead, you know?
In fact, one thing that they've done so well most of the time in this show is keeping things ambiguous when it comes to the magic and to things.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, yeah, there have been times where, okay, that one weird ghostly murdering apparition that the Red Witch was able to...
The Ghost Baby.
The Ghost Baby.
Stannis' Ghost Baby.
So that stuff did happen, but most of the time it was like, did she see something? Did she influence this?
Right.
You know, so it's good.
Right. And I would have wished that the Hound would have just said something like, I saw some stuff, rather than like, I'm seeing a mountain and it looks like it seemed a little too obvious or something, but again, that's fine. The other thing I sort of had some
or maybe it would have been cool if he said something that even he didn't quite understand.
Yeah.
Like, I see a square with a circle in the middle and no one knows what it means.
Yeah.
Later in the show, when they're walking, they see a square with a circle in the middle and we're like, oh, that was a square with a circle in the middle.
Right. Now, after this episode came out, because he said, I see a mountain that, you know, people thought that he saw his brother.
Okay.
But he never did. The other thing that I thought the Hound would have really done in this situation would have been like, yeah, I see something in the fire, but, you know, fuck this shit. I don't care.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm all for me, you know, but anyway.
I've liked his character arc because he's changed quite a bit.
This might be in the books, but it might not be, because at the end of the books we actually don't know if the Hound is alive or not. And so in Martin's universe, either the Hound is actually dead or the Hound is actually hiding alive somewhere, but we'll never see him again.
Is that from when Arya left him?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So Arya left him. He's presumed dead or dying and is going to die. But then there's all these little hints that Brienne actually kind of comes across that makes it look like the Hound is actually still alive, but maybe disguising himself as someone else to kind of avoid, getting in trouble. Anyway, go to King's Landing. Jaime tells Cersei of the crucial need for allies. So this is a question about, like, that we'll get to at the end. It's like, what is Cersei's motivation with all this? You know, because they're sort of in the not the good seat of driving. You know,
especially because at the beginning of the entire series, you could tell that, you know, she was an unhappy woman.
Season.
No, I'm talking about this. The whole when the thing started and we meet her. It's obvious from the beginning that she's an unhappy woman.
Yeah.
And then it starts becoming obvious why. Well, she loves her brother and she has to be married to this buffoon that she hates.
Yeah.
She hates him with a passion. And she's given birth to not his children, but has to pretend that they're his children. So I get it. You know, I'm not saying it makes her a good person. It's just you can understand why she's how she is.
Yeah.
But she's not like, I need to kill the whole world and rule for no reason. By now, though, what happens is she's lost everything almost. And so now it's sort of like a weird psychosis almost. Like, I just don't... if she could spell it out, it would sound like revenge. And then they'd ask her, on who? And I don't know, everyone.
Well,
the fucking world.
I did a whole episode on Cersei. You can listen to that. But if you really actually analyze each decision that she makes, it's almost entirely based on survival.
Yeah.
Occasionally she takes revenge, like on that Septa who tortured her when she was, she could have just killed her or just let her live. It didn't matter. And that whole scene with, that we'll get to with Ilaria and her daughter. She's vicious with certain individuals, but a lot of the decisions she made, I mean, the decision to lock up Ned Stark was to, she was literally going to either die or be banished from Westeros.
Right.
I mean, Ned Stark comes to her and is like, I want you to take you and your 3 kids and leave Westeros, because when I tell your husband what I know to be true, he's gonna want to kill you.
Right.
And so, sir, what would you do? You're queen of the realm.
Totally.
And so she didn't want to kill Ned Stark. She just wanted him to rot in a prison.
Yep.
And then Joffrey decides to.
I'm saying that's definitely how it started. I agree 100%. I think at this point, and I use the word revenge. It's not revenge. It's like
survival.
No, I think she has she cannot let go of the hate that she feels.
Certainly.
Because now, like, she hates her brother. And even when she's like, oh, he didn't kill my sons. I don't care. He killed my dad. And he was like, yeah, but he was going to kill me. Like, I don't care. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you.
Well, I
hate everyone.
She's always hated Tyrion because when Tyrion was born, her mom died.
Yes.
And her mom was like perhaps the only loving person that they had known.
But so that my point is that part's not survival. She can't let go of that hatred.
She's got a problem for sure.
Yeah.
But people tend to paint Cersei as like a psychopath, but actually my contention is when you actually look at her decisions, they're based on survival.
Oh yeah, no. She's
and the Game of Thrones.
Totally agree. I don't think if there's been, and I know you've analyzed, but if there's been psychopaths, it was like Ramsay and stuff like that.
Ramsay's psychopathic, sadist. Joffrey was a psychopath. You could see it, in that he loved to torture people.
Yeah, and animals and things. Yeah. I think Cersei has always been trying. Like you're saying, trying to survive. I think, in fact, what gets in the way of her survival ultimately is that she can't let go of the hatred.
Yeah, partially, but she's totally survived.
But just like right now, though, if she could like take a step back, she wouldn't have now alienated the last person on her corner other than a monster.
Right, right. Well, but she's also saying, look, I'm not going to march north because I want to survive. The one time that I actually, when I analyze each one of her decisions and I look at, and this is probably more just due to her narcissism and I don't think narcissistic personality disorder, I just think her own immaturity or something, was when Marjorie became queen.
Yeah.
And Cersei was the queen mother and started to be marginalized by Marjorie.
Yeah.
And instead of just being like, okay, well, queen mother, that's badass. I can kick back and pull strings from behind and get to know Marjorie and just, know that everything is good now. The realm is safe and da-da-da-da. And the North is now taken over by the Ramsay, who are, the Boltons are loyal to us and everything's good. But instead she's like, I am going to destroy Marjorie.
Right.
And it's like, what a dumb decision.
Yeah. Well, and I don't remember this right. I thought at some point Jaime was trying to get her to just leave with him and stuff. And I think in addition to wanting to survive, she definitely is a power hungry individual.
Right.
And maybe it's not power hungry in the traditional way. It's just maybe that's how she thinks she can be safest, is by having absolute power.
Well, I think again, it's spurned by survival because when she was up until the time that Ned Stark decides he's going to out her and tells her stupidly before he outs her. Up until that time, she's not particularly power hungry at all. She, as a teenager, was just like any other girl in that she wanted to marry a dashing prince, and King Robert Baratheon was actually a very dashing, think Gendry with his hammer and overtook, all of Westeros, and she was just smitten with him. It turned out that Robert Baratheon was in love with Lyanna and proceeded to beat Cersei because and Robert Baratheon was a full-on domestic violent alcoholic asshole. Yeah. And so Cersei, at first really wanted to love Robert, but then over time was like, this isn't working, and then she went back to Jaime at that point. And so is
this all in the books?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they tell all this backstory, and then by the time Game of Thrones begins, we see Cersei in this loveless marriage, and she is having sex with Jaime on the side, and she's not particularly scheming.
No, right.
For anything. She's just surviving. But when Ned Stark makes that threat, and then another threat happens, and another threat, and here comes the Targaryens, and it's just one threat after another. And someone killed my son, and what about my daughter, and what about my other son? Like
it gets worse and worse.
Yeah, it just gets worse. And Marjorie is now taking my son away from me, and it's just this cascade. And
that's why I was calling it, not in a non-technical way. I feel like she now has a little bit of a departure from reality, because if she wants to survive, I think she is now taking the steps that will guarantee her demise.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I suppose like a better, like she could easily just be like, well, I don't know. As I say this, it's like, that's kind of stupid, but
like if she didn't care as much about ruling, she just wants her baby and Jaime.
Yeah.
This is the right time to step. Like, don't you think?
Take your money and
run.
Well, I think that whenever people say that, I think that in certain contexts you can't do that, right? Because like, how do you hide? Someone's gonna find you, right?
Yeah. And I guess the only way is. But then the problem is, again, because of her hatred, she won't trust Daenerys no matter what Daenerys says.
Well, and she shouldn't, because if she lies, that's the other option, right? She's like, she bends the knee to Daenerys or something, right? Well, Daenerys might not have that big of a problem with her, but how many other people want to kill her?
Sure, yeah.
And once she's out of power and she's just a lowly vassal or something, like she'll be dead.
That's right.
And so, I don't know. When I look at Cersei, I think a lot of it starts to make logical sense there, except for the Marjorie thing. Like, she should have just let that go.
Well, but I will say that even now, I mean, let me put it this way. At least the way she told Jaime was a complete mistake.
Yeah.
She should have eased him into the idea of not actually going along with that plan.
Well, again, when you look at it from Cersei's perspective, she's now in a position where her enemy is going to vacate the 6 kingdoms in the south and go north.
Yeah, but now with her brother, who supposedly she loved.
But since she's looking at her armies, and the Golden Company is coming, and she's going to take over the 6 kingdoms, and that means money and power and influence.
I mean, at the very least, she should have killed Jaime then.
Well, and you could see it in her eyes. She was like, well, maybe I should kill him. And so she's on the fence. She still has love for him, and she still has a good in her heart. And so she decided not to kill him ultimately. But so she's looking at this situation, and she's like, I can't bend the knee. They're going to kill me. I can't run. They're going to find me. So the only chance I have is to stay alive and try to gain more power and maybe see what happens,
I hear you up until now. I now think she's gone off. She's too damaged. She's not thinking straight.
Well, what's bad about her decision?
Well, basically, it's her and a insular army that's now been defeated on the battlegrounds multiple times now, and against whatever survives in the north, and whatever survives in the north is now, like she said, gonna come down and crush her.
But she's not in a good position. But what should she do instead?
I think she should have followed the alliance through.
And then what?
Then play the cards that happen at that point.
She's looking at the exact same situation. If she marches north with her broken army that is far inferior to Daenerys's.
Like, first of all, she's not marching north.
Wait. Well, but her army would be
part of her army is marching north,
and a small garrison would stay with her. Okay, so a broken army goes north.
Yeah,
led by Jaime, who isn't a schemer, and they fight the army of the dead. Okay, let's say they win. Best case scenario, they win against the army of the dead.
Right.
Immediately, the North and all
is going to ask for their elite, the bend the knee
and or kill them.
Yeah, exactly.
So and if they bend the knee, they die.
No, not if they bend the knee.
Cersei will die, could die.
Oh, Cersei might die. Yes,
Cersei could die.
But not. See, if she went along with the allegiance, she might not die.
No, that's my contention. Is she is fairly sure, which I am too, that if she goes along with the alliance, Now, maybe someone could strike a deal with her and they would be good to her and they would be honorable. But
well, at the very least, like she already didn't kill Tyrion, didn't kill Jaime. Well, although that was after the fact that she betrayed. So
she killed all those religious people. She killed all those Tyrells.
Oh, she killed
all those Dornish people. She killed all those, the other Greyjoys.
Yeah, but all those are justifiable from a monstrous, place, right? Like you murdered my children, of course I'm going to kill you.
Okay,
you tortured me through the streets, of course I'm going to kill you.
Is it reasonable for Cersei to think that if she bends the knee, someone is going to come try to kill her?
Of course.
Try to marginalize her.
I'm just saying that it's even more likely that now they're going to kill her.
But even so, at the last episode, she says, if I bend the knee, or something like, if I join them, I die.
Yeah. If I don't join them, I die.
And if I don't join them, I die.
Yeah.
And so I think Cersei is just trying to hold on. One, the other piece that I think she might be doing is, fuck it, I'm gonna stay alive as long as I can, and I'll bring as many people down with me. You know what I mean? Because she's got all that anger. She just
hate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the best way to stay alive the longest, I think, logically, is to have her do what she's doing. The Team Dany and Jon are going to go north, and maybe here's a viable scenario that could happen: is a lot of the leadership dies to the Army of the Dead, but the Army of the Dead ultimately loses.
Yeah, but like just the fact that I would almost be done with it, but since she let Jaime live, they will immediately know that she's double-crossed them. So now there's no subterfuge. They immediately know that she's double-crossed them. So now they have no reason to like pull any punches. Why not just send the dragons now and freaking fine, then raise her down? Like burn her to the ground.
Well, that's what, that's why Cersei's getting the Golden Company, which is going to be really fascinating to see the Golden
What are they going to do against the dragons?
Well, those big ass scorpions, the big crossbows, they did damage.
Didn't do a thing. Well, sure, it did injure him slightly, but that's when they didn't know it existed.
Look, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but the point is like I don't hear any viable good options for Cersei.
By the way, I'm so glad they talked about the Golden Company, because I had conversations with people where I was saying, look, why doesn't Cersei invade the Iron Vault or whatever they're called?
Yeah.
And then people are saying, well, because they have all the money. And I'm saying, no, they must have an army of some sort. Because Cersei or other kings wouldn't stop at, well, they have the money.
No. I don't think the Iron Bank has the Golden Company. I think Golden Company is just a mercenary group.
Yeah, they pay that mercenary group to defend them, right?
I don't know.
Well, because otherwise, what would stop anyone from going to just getting all the money themselves?
There's a reason for that, but I don't know what it is. But anyway, we have to take a break. When we get back, we'll maybe get to episode 2. All right, we're back from the break. Just a reminder, go to the Facebook fan group. Join the Facebook fan group. It's run by fans. It's for fans. What's for us, by us?
For fans, by fans. Made from fans.
So it's buff. Okay, so now we're still in episode 1. Cersei welcomes Euron Greyjoy, who proposes marriage to her in exchange for his Iron Fleet and a chance to kill Theon and Yara, or Asha. The book, her name is Asha, not Yara.
Oh, okay.
Because there was Osha, the girl who was with Bran.
Yeah.
And so the TV people thought like,
that's too close.
Yeah, so they decided to call her Yara. But it's like there's Robert and Robb, and we managed that one. Anyway, Cersei declines his offer, citing trust as a concern. So Euron promises to return with a gift to prove his loyalty. Daenerys arrives at Dragonstone, big moment here, the home of House Targaryen, once occupied by Stannis. So the time we saw Stannis in this castle
was the
Targaryen seat that Aegon actually. That was where he started 300 years ago when he came with the first dragons. I think that's how Aegon's conquest. Anyway. Awesome scene. There's like no words, Daenerys gets off the little boat. She walks on the beach. She climbs, there's all these this awesome direction of these handheld Steadicam shots. And we see pulling down I think the Baratheon banner and raising the Targaryen banner, and she enters that room with that big
throne.
Well, no, it's not. Well, she enters the first room. No, she doesn't go to the throne room at all. I think she just goes to that briefing room.
Oh, where the table is, the little planning table.
Right. And then she says, "Shall we begin?"
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. What'd you think of that scene?
That was epic because it was like the end of the last season made it look like the start of the season was going to be a battle.
Right.
Right. And, they clearly were like, well, no, we can't. We have to take our time here. But this was essentially like the logical step. We need a staging ground.
Right.
We need a place we can plan. What better place than the home of the Targaryens?
Yeah. I liked it for all those reasons. I liked it also because they didn't explain it. They just, like, as I'm watching it, I'm like, I don't think casual viewers understand what's happening right now.
Right.
I mean, I have been waiting 15 years, literally, of my life for this to happen. I started reading the books in like early 2000s.
Yeah.
And everything that Daenerys has been doing has been like, got to get back to Westeros.
Right.
And like, oh, I have an army now. Now I just need ships.
Yeah.
Oh, I lost my army. Now I can't. Now we got to go get this.
Another army.
Yeah. Now I'm bogged down in the city, but I got to get back to Westeros. Oh, now I got to deal with these people. And I got to, there's just this constant, and again, end of book 5, she's still in fucking Marine. Like,
oh, wow.
The last scene I think that she's in the books is when Tyrion enters the arena as a slave.
Wow.
And is about to be killed. He's actually in a joust with another dwarf, with another little person. And what Tyrion and this woman, little person, doesn't know is a bunch of tigers are going to come in and eat him as just for sport and fun in the gladiator arena. And Daenerys catches wind of this and says, no, you can't do that. And she calls it off, and Tyrion is like, huh? And like, I think that's the last time so in the books, I'm still waiting for Daenerys to even begin to think about. And so when this scene happened, I was like, oh my God, finally partially because it's such a epic, long journey that she's been on.
Yeah.
But also because it's like, finally, she's at Westeros, and we can resolve some of these fucking plots. You know what I mean?
Where was the place they started from when she was with her brother?
She's on the other side. It's in one of the free cities. I can't remember which one it is, but one of the western cities. And then she starts heading east as time goes on.
Right.
But anyway, okay. So, but one of the problems I have with this whole season is, often there's these very sparse scenes in which Daenerys and Jon are in this scene, Dany is just walking up the stairs by herself, and she doesn't have a lot of guards around her.
Right.
And what I'm thinking is, if you are a queen and you aren't a warrior and you don't have any armor on, then anyone with a crossbow from a window could kill you.
That's right.
Or someone could jump out of the shadows or something. And so you would have like a team of bodyguards around you at all times. And throughout this whole season, I'm like, you wouldn't do it like that. What you don't, like when Jon and Daenerys meet, they just walk up to each other. And Daenerys doesn't know this guy.
No.
And maybe Jon's like, well, here's my chance. I'm king of the North. Kill her. I become king of everything. I mean, she doesn't know, and they don't have any. There's not even any. It's like when they went to the dragon pit and they had that big, powwow between Cersei, and they had guards, but they weren't very quick to react.
No, they weren't. And in fact, do you see how close that the zombie got to her?
The white was like within striking distance.
Either they made it look like that as bad, as like cheap writing. Or he got really close, in which case, what the hell is the mountain going to do?
Right.
And the mountain seems slow to begin with.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And so, again, what if something came out of that box that had a bow and arrow and just shot Cersei or Daenerys or something?
Yeah.
It's like not,
in normal world, you would have a shield wall of warriors around
Well,
you.
and what about when the dragon was arriving?
Right.
You just sit there and look at it like, that's interesting.
Right, exactly. The dragon lands could have just blown fire, killed all of those
Every
people.
motherfucker.
Yeah. Just
And not only that,
in an
like
instant.
as a human, I mean, these are humans. Instinctually, like if a lion, forget a dragon, if a lion came in like the same area, open area that we're in, we're all freaking running for the hills, right? Instinctually. A dragon of that magnitude, just the presence of like those soldiers would be running, grabbing her if they can, if not just running for their own lives.
Right. Well, that's when Jon and the Onion Knight first come across the dragon. They drop.
They drop.
Yeah.
They don't know what's going on. They're
just like, So yeah. Now, having said that, when I watched all these scenes, I wasn't thinking that because I'm into the story.
Yeah, I know.
You know, if you watch Episode 7 Star Wars, there's plenty of moments where you're like, what? You know, you again left a vulnerable spot that can be attacked by X-Wings. You know, like, did you not learn anything from the previous 2 Death Stars? So, you know, again, it's storytelling. It's fine. You got to shoot it in a certain way. And if you have like a realistic world, it's not very interesting. But anyway, okay. Episode 2. Let's try to race our way through these. Daenerys sends the Dornish people with Yara and her fleet to Sunspear. And Dany sends the Unsullied to Casterly Rock.
So this pissed me off, man.
What?
Like they send that fleet.
Yeah.
And like the brother and the sister don't mention, by the way, there is a slight risk
of Euron
that our uncle might try to kill us.
Right.
Oh, your uncle? Does he have boats? About that.
He's
probably building 20 more times boats than we have.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Like, could you have sent the dragons maybe to like help?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of the problem with having such a powerful thing like dragons.
Yeah.
Is it's like, why wouldn't you have them doing all sorts of stuff?
Yeah.
You know, just the ability, you know, just every day go out and see if there's an enemy you can
kill. Kill.
Yeah.
Don't get yourself killed in the north to rescue. I don't even want to get started on that yet. But yes, exactly. Use the dragons wisely.
Yeah. You could just like, I wonder if Euron's fleet is somewhere.
Just go look.
Yeah, just fly around. Oh, there they are. Well, let's go back home. Mm-hmm. I know where they're at. I'll gear up and, you know, da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
Or I'll even say, dragons, go to where we just were and kill all the... that's the other thing I'm going to clear.
They're wooden boats.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so some of the things kind of break down a little bit. But anyway, again, as I was watching it, I was... And
that was a fun, good scene.
Yeah.
Where they got attacked.
Yeah, and that comes later in this episode.
Okay,
but anyway... let's see. Melisandre arrives and encourages Dany to invite Jon Snow. Oh, Grey Worm and Missandei consummate their relation.
They have quote unquote.
They go to
the 7th base.
A 3rd base.
But
isn't that 3rd base?
Yeah, but then they also probably rub in a way that's not normally possible. I don't know.
I don't think it's possible for him.
No, but he's got skin down there, right? He's got like scar tissue that I...
Well, I think you're wishful thinking, my friend.
I don't know. I mean, like he's got to have something, right?
No, I think it's off.
But that means there's scar tissue. There's...
Oh, well...
He could rub the scar again.
God. But anyway, what'd you think of that scene?
Yeah, it was powerful because, I mean, from the beginning, when they started having a romantic intention, I think all of us were like, yeah, but I mean, what are they gonna do?
Well, I think people like you were thinking that. Love transcends the ability to put P and V.
But not in a show on HBO. I mean, but no, I mean, I knew that of course there are things they were going to be able to do, but we were all waiting for it, right?
Yeah.
And then it finally happened.
I wasn't really waiting for it. I thought that it might not ever happen.
Oh, really?
I didn't need it because it didn't need to happen for the plot. You know what I mean? It's a total side story.
I always thought that they did need to they need to raise the stakes with Grey Worm because it wasn't like he was Daenerys' love interest, unlike the previous Jorah.
Well, right. So in
guy.
order to make it hurt more or something if he dies, but at the same time, it really doesn't have anything to do with anything.
That's fair.
But I thought the scene was beautifully shot.
Yeah, it was very well done.
Again, you could have made that really dumb, and the scene was actually like pretty explicit too. Like, like they didn't pull any punches.
No.
Really. It's one of the most explicit scenes in Game of Thrones, which is saying something.
I mean, what's his name?
Grey Worm?
Grey Worm,
yeah.
Right? It should be more like Grey Tongue.
Cersei gathers several lords asking for their fealties and elevating Randall Tarley as Warden of the South. Qyburn shows Cersei a prototype ballista capable of killing dragons. When that happened, I was like, oh, I guess that makes sense. Like that you could design a large enough weapon that could kill a dragon.
And it makes, it makes sense in both directions because one, you would think, well, duh, like, of course, shoot a large enough missile.
Yeah.
But it's not duh because that's technology that you don't just get for free. Like, where's the technology coming from? So this guy is like a masterful inventor. He's sort of a genius. So it makes sense that he'd be like, I've designed something that actually would have the power to do that.
Right.
And that makes sense.
Right. And they did have those kinds of things back in those times.
Of course.
Yeah.
Now, at the same time, it does make sense, but it also doesn't make sense because I thought that her believing that this was some sort of like sure counter was naive. It's like,
I don't think she thought that. I think,
she was like, I think we got something for the dragons.
well, I think she was like, that we're not dust, you know what I mean? Because up until we get those ballistas, it was like, well, you're done. There's 3 dragons, and no matter what happens, anything you fire at, it's going to bounce off of its skin.
See.
Whereas now it's like, well, now we have a chance. You know, that was the way I was interpreting it. I don't think Cersei was like, I have automatic weapons that will kill. It's like I didn't perceive it that way. Anyway, Aria meets Hot Pie. What do you think about Hot Pie?
Wait, who's Hot Pie?
Hot Pie is the guy.
Oh yeah. She meets back up with him.
Yeah.
Like that's that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then also that was more evidence. Was like that's Arya.
Yeah.
She's acting like Arya.
Right. So she's talking with Hot Pie, and then she's like, yeah, I'm going south, going to King's Landing, and he's like, why would you go there? Why wouldn't you go to Winterfell? And she's like, why would I go there? The Boltons own that. Yeah. And he's like, no,
John.
And she's like, huh? And I remember as I'm watching, I can't tell you how many times when I'm watching these episodes, I just had this giddy feeling.
Yeah.
And when she got left, that little pub,
right,
I was like, please go back to Winterfell.
Right.
But there's a part of me that wanted to go to King's Landing and kill Cersei, But I was like, if she goes back to Winterfell, we're going to have another reunion,
Well, and the problem is I knew that if she went to King's Landing this early, she was going to die.
Because you can't have Cersei die.
No.
You
could in old Game of Thrones.
Right. I was unsure about that because at the beginning of this season, I was like, I was probably putting like a 50% chance that Cersei was going to be dead by the end of the season. Because I was thinking, you got to get rid of Cersei in that storyline so that you can go full living versus dead.
Yeah.
But I kind of like the way they did it because there's still this thorn in the side.
Yeah. They sort of got rid of her temporarily, but not really.
Right. And who knows what'll happen, which we'll get into.
Now, at the same time, we obviously the season ended this way, but so we haven't had a chance to talk. They haven't had a chance to talk about the fact that with her betrayal, it's not just that she betrayed them. They didn't get those troops.
Right.
And they were sort of counting on the additional manpower.
Right.
Exactly. So Arya meets Nymeria and asks Nymeria to come with her, and Nymeria's like, nah. And Arya's like, oh, you know, I like that Nymeria has moved on.
Oh, the wolf.
Yeah.
Well, for a second, I thought the wolf was going to kill her.
Yeah.
And in fact, I thought the wolf recognized her as not Arya.
Yeah.
And that's why A, she was growling, and B, she didn't go with her.
Well, at first she was like, who is this person? 'Cause
Right.
It's been a while, I suppose.
Well, and then when Arya said, it's not you.
Yeah.
I didn't remember that line had been spoken before, right?
Yeah.
But I thought in that moment that was like a hint that it's not Arya.
Right.
I was just trying to
Nymeria.
that Arya was sort of saying it about herself cryptically.
Man, you're really looking
I know.
Now, here's the thing, I was wondering if they wrote this into this season to give closure to the Nymeria question, because a lot of the fans have been like, where's Nymeria? Like, Nymeria's out there somewhere. And in the books, the wolves play much more of a role. They're around much more often.
Yeah, I could imagine, because at the beginning of the series, they were a big deal.
Right.
They were presented as a big deal,
Right. And I think in the TV show, for good reasons, they don't include them a lot, because I think they're hard to shoot because they're so huge.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering if this was sort of fan satisfaction of just like, look, Nymeria's out there, but she's running wild. And
was Nymeria the last one?
The wolf, that Arya's wolf.
Yeah, was she the last one?
Oh, the last one. Is she the last one? She might be the last direwolf of the Starks. I'd have to look that up. But anyway, the other thing is maybe Nymeria will come back and save the day, which I won't like, because I'm getting a little tired of the
Uncle Ben or whatever.
Yeah, the thing that comes out of nowhere and saves the day.
Yeah,
it's getting a little old.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Anyway, after receiving Samwell's letter, Jon leaves for Dragonstone in hopes of convincing Dany to support his fight against the White Walkers. He leaves Sansa in charge and almost strangles Littlefinger to death. Sam applies a forbidden treatment to Jorah's grayscale infection, which was super gross. They did a smash cut to someone eating something that looked just like it.
Yeah, that was good.
My guess is that Martin will not have this in the books, because the way that grayscale is written in the books, it's like it's a done deal and there's no going back. So now I know they had this reveal of like, well, there's this secret healing thing or something.
Yeah.
And I think that's just because the writers people love Jorah and they want him to come back. And
he promised Dany.
Right. And so I think in the books, it would make total sense given Martin's sensibilities that Jorah would become one of those feral, crazy, grayscale people. Anyway.
And he's like a father figure to Dany.
Right. Euron's fleet attacks Yara's fleet. Obara and Nymeria are killed. Ilaria and Tien and Yara are captured. Okay, so this is when Theon jumps from the ship.
Yes.
Because Euron is like, come on, Theon, you want to save your sister? And Theon's and jumps.
But by the way, this is another good, what I would expect out of Game of Thrones. Because normally you'd be like, this is the scene. He finally gets the guts and he pulls out this crazy combat maneuver. But no,
he jumps. Right. So people online are calling this like he became Reek again.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, he got, from the very beginning, even before he got conditioned by Ramsay, I think he was always a coward. They established early on in the series that he was a coward. He would pretend to murder children by murdering other children.
Right.
Like, he was just a coward. And when the Reek sequence happened, he basically, whatever part of him was sort of not a coward got completely eliminated, and then all that was left was that coward.
Yeah.
And then I think when he had a chance to do some good, he's like slowly been trying to like recover his character. But ultimately, this is not a brave individual, right? And so he's confronted with a situation where his own life is in peril. And then, he reverts to not Reek necessarily, just to like his normal cowardice.
Right. The whole Reek thing, you got to listen to my whole episode on Theon if you want to hear more about this. But people really focus on the Reek thing. They think of Reek as like this other personality or something.
Oh, yeah, no.
And it's like, no, that was Theon terrified and broken down, but he wasn't actually Reek.
Yeah.
And he probably always knew he was Theon, but he just became like conditioned to call himself Reek, And so this whole notion of like he became Reek, it's like, no. But actually, and so I agree with that part, but I actually disagree with what you're saying in that I think that so part of this is the books is that, and part of it's in the TV series, is when Robb Stark is marching north and getting all the Bannermen and winning all these battles against the Lannisters and stuff. Theon Greyjoy is Robb Stark's best friend essentially.
Oh,
I mean, kind of, but because up until the time of Ned Stark dying, Theon was living with the Starks and was close in age to Robb. I think he was a little older than Robb Stark. And so Theon and Robb were pretty close. And Theon was like a ruthless, he actually was pretty ruthless. I don't know how brave he was, but actually, now that I think about it, I'm 90% sure he actually fought bravely in battles during the Robb Stark rebellion.
I see.
So Theon isn't him. So Theon himself he's immature. He's a Greyjoy. He has insecurities, which they portray before he becomes Reek. But he's actually brave as well. So when we come to this scene and people are watching it, I mean, Berto, let me ask you. It's you, okay? What would you do? You yourself you're trained as a military person because all those gentry are.
Yeah.
But you're standing there, your sister has a knife to her throat. Euron and his men have slaughtered all of your men and all these people. Everything's burning. And you're standing there. What do?
You have to try to save her.
What?
You have to try to save her.
Would you do that though?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I would in the moment because maybe.
Well, that's the question.
But
what
I would
you
certainly want to be what happens.
Why?
Because that's what you got to do. She's your sister. And at this point,
it's suicide.
It's only suicide because they attacked you, but everyone else died bravely trying to defend the.
So you would gladly die.
I'm hoping I don't. I'm going to try to kill him.
I know you're hoping, but would you? That's the question.
I don't know if I'd kill him, but I'd try.
You would suicide yourself.
But I wouldn't look at it like suicide in that moment because it's like he's got my sister.
Well, it was basically suicide.
But
Euron is a madman, and there are other men around.
But they could have all decided as soon as they were getting boarded, oh, it's suicide to do anything else than run. But instead, they fought, right?
Well,
and
they
were
fought
trying
out of self-defense, and and Theon at this point it's at the end of the battle. There's all these fierce battling going on. And this isn't to say that there weren't other Greyjoy.
I would not leave her because at the very least, I would not want her.
You consider yourself to be a very brave individual.
But it's not even that. It's like I know that if I leave her, she's gonna go through the hell of all hell.
She is still gonna go through that.
No, she's probably gonna die in the next 5 minutes. But that's actually better than what is probably gonna happen.
Well, again, as with Cersei, logically, you got to break it down in terms of percentages of likelihood. So in that moment, what's the likelihood that Theon could have prevailed and killed Theon and saved Yara?
Almost zero.
Right.
And in Theon's character, it would have been very out of character for him to try.
And even if he was quote unquote brave, logically speaking, it doesn't do any good to just throw yourself onto the sword when the same thing is going to happen to Yara. When, if you jump, maybe you could come back another day, as he is doing, and actually prevail.
But so the reason I like the scene where he's coming back is because they kept him consistent in the sense that he was still on the verge of backing out, even though there was no sword anymore. It was just a dude and his fists, right? And even though there was no current threat to his sister or anything like that.
This is when he's battling the other Greyjoy, and yet, episode 7.
And yet, in a normal Hollywood movie, this is where he becomes a badass kung fu master.
Yeah.
And instead he doesn't. He gets his ass kicked. And then this is arguable, but then only sort of out of last minute desperation, he kind of lands a good punch and grabs him and then kills the guy. Right. And then and leaves him wounded and stuff. But that's enough for them to gain respect for him to like, okay, Lau, let's go. But wouldn't you say this is just as much or maybe even more of a suicide mission? Because it's now just not him. Technically speaking, if you were analyzing it from a distance, all of them were likely to die now. Well, because they're going to all try to infiltrate. What's their plan?
But they potentially have a better chance now that Euron might not be expecting them or whatever. But yeah, you're right. But at the same time, in the moment, you're standing there everything, all hope is lost, and Euron is, threatening. It just, when he jumped, I was like, yeah, I could see that.
Oh, I definitely could see it, and I was glad he did because I that is what I expected him to do.
Yeah.
Now, what I thought was going to happen is he was going to pull a Hollywood maneuver and rescue his sister, and then I would have enjoyed it in the other way.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so people on the internet are saying, well, he's Reek, and
I don't buy that.
I can't believe he did that. And I'm just like, and all I want to say is, like, how many of you people commenting on Reddit would have done something different?
Well, right. But to be fair, they're also comparing him to other characters of the show. So, like, Jon Snow would never have jumped.
Right. Jon Snow would not have jumped.
Yeah.
But Theon is more of a regular human who has, like, regular, like, insecurities and weaknesses, and and doesn't trust himself. I mean, because back up just 5 minutes before that moment, he's downstairs with his sister as the Dornish queen and Yara are about to go at it, and Theon is serving them alcohol.
Yeah.
So Theon doesn't at this moment consider himself to be like an alpha male, so to speak.
And that's clear even back when when he encounters his sister, way before Ramsay, like,
yeah, kind of. I mean, he had more vim and vigor, as they say.
But his sister would have kicked his ass then.
Yeah.
And then his dad treated him like a little wuss.
Yeah. Okay, so episode 3. But before we do it, let's take a break. What do you say?
Yeah.
All right, we're back from the break. Episode 3. Let's try to go through this. Jon and Onion Knight arrive at Dragonstone. Jon is scared of dragons.
Onion Knight, is that the spider?
Davos? No.
Oh.
Davos is the Sir Davos. Sir Davos is the Onion Knight.
What?
Varys.
Why
is
it called the Onion Knight?
Because when Stannis, during Robert's rebellion, Robert and Ned, or Stannis, being Robert's younger brother, had to hold the Baratheon castle, I believe, and Storm's End, I think it is, and they were besieged by, I think, a Targaryen army, and so that Robb could sort of be mobile and gather more armies and attack King's Landing. It's very complicated. But anyway, Stannis was under siege and couldn't get supplies, and they started to starve Stannis and the other Baratheon men.
Oh, okay.
And so they started eating
onions.
They started eating everything. And then Sir Davos, who was just Davos at the time, he was just a smuggler, smuggled in a bunch of onions.
Oh.
And I think other vegetables, I'm not sure, but and provided just enough provisions so that they wouldn't have to surrender or kill themselves.
I see.
And so Stannis, in thanks, elevated Davos, who's just from Flea Bottom, to Sir Davos, and then he's called the Onion Knight.
That's why he's not a fighter. Right. He was never a fighter.
No, he's just he's a very poor person from the gutters in Flea Bottom, and rose to to the smuggler, and just happened to be at the kind of like, I think he was helping Stannis because he's thinking, well, if I help Stannis, maybe he'll reward me.
Those are backdrops you really miss in the show, because like that explains so much more of his character and his decisions and what he doesn't do.
So Stannis, being one of the Baratheons, like Ned Stark, with all the honor, Stannis, even though Davos saved the day by smuggling, Stannis couldn't. He said, well, I'll award you by elevating you to a knight, but you're a smuggler, so you need to pay for your crimes. Oh. And so he chopped off all of his fingers on one hand.
What?
Yeah, so the Onion Knight has no fingers on one hand.
Do we know that in the show?
They show that in the show, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so
holy shit.
So Stannis being, Stannis and Ned Stark really head like neck and neck for like the race of the like stupidly what do you call it, honorable, anyway.
Yeah.
Daenerys demands Jon to bend the knee. Jon refuses, and following Tyrion's advice, Daenerys grants Jon access to the Iron Dragon glass. Melisandre hides her presence from Jon and leaves for Volantis across the Narrow Sea. We didn't see her again in season 7, so I wonder if she's ever going to show up again. The Red Priestess,
right? She said she'll be back because she has to die in that land. So I think we will.
Yeah. So the one thing I'm wondering is, like, will she come over with the Golden Company? I wonder if she'll worm her way into the Golden Company and maybe mess with them from the inside. I don't know. Bran arrives at Winterfell and reveals his newfound role as the Three-Eyed Raven to Sansa. In King's Landing, Euron returns with Aria and Tien, I don't know how to pronounce her name, as a gift for Cersei, who promises to marry him after the war is won. Cersei awards him co-control of the military alongside Jaime. Jaime and Euron have a nice little exchange.
Ooh, that was high tension.
Yeah.
Euron was like asking for sex advice with her. Oh my gosh.
And weren't they talking about fifth base? I think they were talking about...
They didn't say fifth base, did they? No, but he was like, oh yeah, because he was like, so what does she like? Does she like a finger in the ass?
Yeah, didn't she say?
Yeah.
I guess, is that fifth base? Would you call that fifth base?
For me, that one's second base.
Yeah, okay. Cersei administers the same poison to Illyria's daughter that was used to kill Marcella, forcing Illyria to watch her daughter die. We never see Illyria again. She's just rotting away in the dungeon.
That's right.
I suppose. In Old Town, a healed Jorah leaves to find Daenerys. Grey Worm and the Unsullied attack Castle Rock, only to find that it's mostly abandoned. Jaime led most of the Lannister forces to attack Highgarden, while Euron's fleet ambushes and destroyed the Unsullied ships.
By the way, did they ever show us how Grey Worm's able to get out of Casterly Rock? Because they leave the ships in front and part of the army guarding the outside,
right?
And they have no supplies, so they didn't show us how he got out.
I don't think so. The Lannister forces overwhelm Olenna's army. There's this really awesome sequence where Jaime is entering Highgarden, and walking upstairs, and you just see the results of the battle, left and right, dead bodies, and he's walking up, and he's entering Olenna's room, and then he enters the room, and there's this awesome scene between the two of them. What do you think of that scene?
It was. She has been one of my favorite characters in the series.
Yeah.
She's such a veteran actress. She's just like, obviously has a great experience. And so she's able to really command those scenes.
Yeah.
And every scene she's in, she almost always steals them. It was great because even in the moment where she knows she's about to die, she's got her composure, and she's able to actually worm her way to like still stabbing them one last time.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, totally agree. There's a number of scenes where the directors and the writers, they write in this super clever way that I just have to say, you can have your complaints with the show, but watch any other show and try to not find 10 times more problems.
Sure.
Like any other show would have, I don't know, they just would have done it differently.
Yeah.
And with Olenna, he's like, Cersei wanted to have you dragged behind horses and hung from a tree living and blah, blah. And I, decided, I asked her to do something else. And so here's poison. And he puts it in the wine, and then she's like, "Is it painful? Does it hurt?" And he's like, "Nope." And then she just immediately grabs the glass and downs it. Just glug, glug, glug. And that's another thing that the directors did here. It actually takes the actress to drink this wine. It takes a while. It's a good 5 seconds. You know? She doesn't just shoot it back. It's like gulp, 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 gulp. A little bit more, gulp, a little bit more. And they don't move the camera. It just stays on her. Other people would be like, this is taking a little long. Let's
move it along.
Yeah. And so it feels real,
Yeah.
And I just thought, I thought she would hesitate. But she's just like, she knows, she's been around the block.
Yeah.
She knows the drill. She knows there's no way out of it. she's probably been thinking about it for the past 15 minutes anyway. She's like, well, surely someone's going to come here and kill me.
And she definitely doesn't want the painful options.
Right. And and so he pours the thing, and she doesn't want to give him the satisfaction of like crying or suffering. She's just like, is it painful? He's like, nope. She's like, okay, boom, knocks it back. And then it's like, and slowly starts to reveal, by the way, this is very different from the poison that, I gave Joffrey that made him suffer so bad.
Yes.
And and Jamie, the guy who plays that, excellent actor, you just see this. I think Jamie, the actor who plays Jamie, I can't remember his name, he has one of the hardest acting jobs in Game of Thrones because he has to exhibit very conflicted feelings, right?
Well, it is amazing that between the writers and his acting, they somehow have gotten us to the point where we're all sort of rooting for Jaime Lannister.
Yeah.
The guy who started the series pushing Bran out of a window and fucking his sister.
Yeah, yeah.
Like we were started there, and now we're like, oh, poor Jaime.
Yeah. Totally. So, Olenna's telling him this, and Jamie loved his kids.
Yeah.
But there's all this pain because he had to love them from afar.
Yeah.
But he also thought that Joffrey was kind of a cunt, what I mean? As I think they say in the show. And he I don't know, there's just all these, and he was the Kingsguard, so he feels ashamed that he let Joffrey get killed.
Right.
And Joffrey was a King Lannister, basically a Lannister kid, even though he's Baratheon by name. But anyway, excellent. Okay, episode 4. Arya returns to Winterfell. She's reunited with Sansa. Great scene there.
Yeah, totally.
She comes to the gate. Again, people online were sort of dogging on this scene, like where Arya comes to the gate and those two guards are like, fuck off, kid, you're not Arya.
Yeah.
And then they start to fight, and then she like slips off, and they're saying stuff like, the people online were saying stuff like, why wouldn't they let Arya in? That's stupid.
Well, they don't know it's her.
Right. They don't know it's her, and
who's ever seen Arya in that time frame?
Right.
Other than like Sansa.
Yeah. And what's the chance that it's Arya? And yeah,
they don't have pictures of people hanging around.
Right.
There's no like internet search.
Right. Plus, there's plenty of con artists and people who are trying to trick guards all the time.
And those are young kids. Those aren't like the ancient ones that knew all the Starks.
Right. And so I thought the scene was played out just right.
Yeah. If anything, you could say like, why is there such little protection at the gates?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that made total sense. And then Arya slips off and then goes to the catacombs, runs into Sansa. What did you think of that scene?
Yeah, I thought that was great because at this point, I hadn't yet started getting annoyed with Arya. So it was cool. Now, I had forgotten how little they liked each other.
Right.
So at first I was weirded out by the fact, I'm like, wait, you guys are like sisters. You haven't seen each other for so long. Where's the like tearful embrace?
Yeah.
But then someone reminded me, and I was like, oh, yeah, plus Arya is now like more of an assassin, and Sansa's had to grow up like 60 years in 2 years.
But they did have a nice moment in the catacombs.
Yeah.
They did have a nice moment, which was, I've been waiting 15 years for this,
right.
Or maybe 13 years since they were separated. The last time they saw each other was the day that Ned Stark was captured, I think. When he was brought to the dungeon,
yeah,
because that's when the Lannister men killed all the Stark men who were in King's Landing,
and they were probably going to kill Arya.
Well, they were going to at least capture her.
And that's where the swordsman helped her escape.
Right, and then she escaped into the place where the dragon bones were.
Right,
and where we later see in this season with Cersei. And that was what, mid season 1, mid book 1. I've been waiting this long for Arya to bump into at least one other Stark. And so this moment was a big moment. I loved it. I can't tell you the nerd energy that was pouring out of me in this moment. She spars with Brienne, which was great. See, that was a great scene when Arya and Brienne go at it. Bran unemotionally bids farewell to Mira, divulging that he no longer is the boy that she accompanied me.
And isn't this when we have that scene with Littlefinger and the knife?
Right. So Littlefinger gives Bran the knife that was previously used in his attempted assassination. What do you think about this scene?
Yeah, and he doesn't. He makes it sound like it's a different knife.
Right. He's just like, here's this knife. Yeah.
It was a very clever scene given what we finally saw.
Right.
Because at the time it seemed odd, right? Yeah. It's almost like Bran is legitimizing Littlefinger because he's certainly not calling him out, right? And isn't that when he says
chaos is a ladder.
Is a ladder. Yeah.
Right. So I had no idea what that referred to. I had to look it up. I'm like, what did he say? Like, at first
refers to something?
Well,
I mean, I get the expression, but I didn't know.
Oh yeah. Refers like, so what did you think it was?
Oh, okay. So when it played in real time, I actually misheard it. I thought he said chaos is a word. So I was like, it is. But then later someone's like, no, he said chaos is a ladder. And I'm like, oh, that's clever. So like what I got from it is, normally people think, oh, chaos, it's bad.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to be Machiavelli, if you're trying to like climb a thing, well, chaos gives you more opportunities than order.
Right.
Because in order, it's like, that's the king.
Yeah.
That's the duke. Right. You are nobody.
And that's exactly Littlefinger's shtick.
Right.
Is chaos. So season 1, I think, Littlefinger says chaos isn't. He's talking to Varys.
Yeah, and that's in the room, right? They're like looking at the game at the throne.
I think so. I think they're and you can see Littlefinger kind of gazing at the throne.
Yeah,
and I think somehow they get to talking about chaos, and he says chaos isn't a pit; chaos is a ladder. Wow. And so when Bran says it to him,
I didn't remember.
Littlefinger's like, wait, that's what I say. How would you even know that, right? So at this point, Bran is just kind of screwing with Littlefinger a little bit.
I didn't remember that.
Well, I didn't either. I had to look it up,
okay.
And then I was like,
I just thought it was like. So the funny thing is, when I heard what he actually said, I started getting this feeling of, oh, Bran is so detached. It's almost like Dr. Manhattan in he's so detached that he's like, I'll allow your chaos climbing ladder BS. Right. But instead, he was warning the shit out of him. It's like, I know where you've been.
Right. He was kind of messing with him.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I thought too. I thought, well, at first I thought, well, Bran's really lost it because he's saying something just completely disconnected from what's happening. And then later on, I was like, oh, so is he like saying, well, Littlefinger, let him have his thing.
Right.
But anyway,
no, he's fucking.
Later on, we find out that's definitely like Littlefinger says that it's the dagger that was used. He actually tells him. He says, this was used in that. Incidentally, so that was when. So this dagger. There's a lot of callbacks to season 1. There's a lot of callbacks to that early because when Jaime pushed him out of the window to protect their relationship, which would have. I mean. Again, when we first see that scene, we're like, I can't believe that evil Jaime pushed him out of the window.
Yeah.
But put yourself in Jaime and Cersei's shoes at that moment.
Oh, certainly. But
if Bran lives, they both die because Robert would kill both of them and their kids. You know what I mean?
That's how murderers operate in this sense. It's like most humans, as we've talked about before, are not psychopaths. Most humans, if they are murdering...
Or sadists,
yeah, right. If they are murdering, it's normally because they stand to gain or lose or a lot,
Maybe. I mean, in the real world, there's a lot of murders that are based on like rage and alcohol.
Sure.
but anyway, so, they push Bran out and then...
But the way he does it,
he says, the things I do for love, and just push
it. And it's at that point, I know it's just writing, but at that point you sort of get the sense that he really cares nothing about human life, right?
Right.
He's just like, whatever.
Yeah. So, right. But Jaime kind of goes on a journey with Brienne mainly is the journey. But so then Bran is recovering. He hasn't woken up yet.
Right.
And the Lannister and Jaime and Cersei are like, geez, I hope he dies.
Yeah.
And this assassin shows up with this fancy knife, and everyone thinks, oh, it must be the Lannisters, right?
We all thought that.
Yeah, we were led to think that. But actually, it was Littlefinger's knife, and I think Littlefinger hired the assassin to kill Bran.
And so,
And do we know why?
I think because chaos is a ladder, and if we can get the Starks and the Lannisters to hate each other, then he can sneak his way in, which is kind of what happened. So I think that's.
I see. Yeah.
Okay. So Cersei assures the Iron Bank that they will get their money back, and they actually do get the money back because a bunch of money comes from Highgarden and all that gold.
That's right.
And
because the gold that they lose is the one that was headed back to King's Landing.
No, they got it back to King's Landing.
No, because they got attacked by the dragon.
The gold was already at King's Landing.
Oh, so they didn't lose the gold.
Right.
They lost supplies and men.
Lost supplies and men. Yeah. Okay. And I think it's sort of like the end. I mean, and actually, that's actually an accurate portrayal of medieval deployment.
Sure.
Is you would have miles and miles of supplies and men, and
you'd have to,
right. And so, right. In a cave filled with dragon glass, I hated this scene. Jon reveals the ancient paintings on the wall to Daenerys. What'd you think of this scene?
I didn't hate it, but it was like the Lascaux caves or whatever.
Right.
They're seeing it was a little too heavy on the nose. Like
it was right on the nose.
Like they're look at these. It tells the story.
Yeah.
There's the White Walkers.
Right. It's just it's like it was like someone just drew. I mean, it was so dumb,
and it was too convenient. They're gonna go look for the glass.
Yeah.
Like here's the story.
Yeah. And it was like laid out like a comic book.
Yeah,
it was like, here's scene 1, here's scene 2. That was one problem I had with it. The other one was, even with that super obvious drawing to make it look like, the White Walkers, you still couldn't really tell what it was.
Of course not.
Because you look at the White Walker drawings and it's like, well, that could be a lot of things.
Mean people.
Yeah.
And so, we know that giants exist.
Right. Right. So
giants haven't been debated, right?
Yeah, they have. Like until the beginning of the book, most people say, giants, they're legends.
Fine.
Okay.
But from someone who owns 3 dragons, you would think believability would be a little easier, right?
Right. All right. Theon arrives back at Dragonstone, and Jon says that he won't kill him because he saved Sansa. What'd you think about this? Does that make sense? Should Jon have not killed Theon in that moment? Theon doesn't really even ask for mercy. He just kind of walks up in this kind of weak state.
And Jon doesn't know all the details. So it's not like Jon knows that he murdered kids trying to make it look like they were his own, like they were the Stark kids.
He might know that.
I get the sense that he knows that he betrayed the family.
Yeah.
And then he also knows that he did save Sansa. So when you weigh that, Jon's not a murderer.
How did he betray the family? He invaded Winterfell and killed a bunch of Stark people.
That's true.
All
right, fair enough.
It's pretty awful.
Fair enough.
I mean,
and plus he actually doesn't know all the shit that he did go through.
Right.
So it's not like that can weigh in.
Right.
Yeah, that's a little tough. It's almost like he gets the benefit of the doubt because we are the viewers.
I mean, I guess, right. I think that's the thing. It's like we as viewers don't want Jon to kill Theon. Yeah. But if you come from Jon's point of view, it's like,
it'd be like, thank you for saving Sansa. Slice.
Yeah. I've wanted to get revenge on you ever since I heard that you invaded Winterfell and killed our men.
Yeah.
And tried to kill my brothers.
The one counter is that in this way, Jon is too much like Ned. And in fact, he's shown mercy when many people were like, don't show mercy. And in fact, that's what got him killed in the first place.
Mercy. But also, Ned was ruthless. When that one crow was found south of the wall, he chopped off his head.
Fine. So not Ned. You're right.
So Theon did something against the law, essentially, and King of the North would have chopped his head off.
Not Ned. You're right. I was thinking Ned was too trusting, but you're right. That's not the right analogy. Jon repeatedly has given a chance to people that fully, outright betrayed him and tried to kill him.
But he also killed those crows who did stab him.
Well, finally. Yeah. Finally.
Later, Dany learns of the sacking of Highgarden by Lannister forces and realizes her attack on Casterly Rock was a distraction. Despite Tyrion's protest, she decides to take action.
Okay, so she gets on Drogon and rides to and gets the Dothraki cavalry and rides to the Lannister army. Man, what'd you think of this scene?
So on the one hand, I thought the scene was amazing. I loved the dragon attacking, really cool visuals. The problem I had with it, but it's been explained to me from an angle, it's okay. The problem I had with it is the way that the music and the way it was filmed and the way they were showing us Tyrion, I felt like they were trying to make me feel like, oh God, the humanity, right? And I understand war is terrible. But it was hard for me to empathize too much because I'm like, oh, these are the people that are trying to kill and rage.
That was not my sense. I didn't get a sense like the directors were trying to make us feel bad.
Well, they kept showing Tyrion looking around at all the destruction, and they kept showing us the bodies go, ah! And they kept showing the dragon, and it was,
I don't know. Maybe I have a different sort of heart, but I was like laughing my ass off when the Lannisters were getting.
Well, me too. I was enjoying it, which is precisely why I was like, don't make this about like, oh, they shouldn't be using so much violence.
I don't think they were. I think they were scratching an itch for all of us that we've, and I think Tyrion was on hand to react to when Jaime eventually does what Jaime does.
I disagree because Tyrion was against it.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
He had told her not to do it. He was against it. We show that she ends up almost paying a penalty by losing the dragon.
Actually, maybe given episode 7, when Tyrion and Cersei have a conversation that we never see.
Yeah.
Remember when they're trying to broker a deal?
Yeah.
Maybe we're leading to some sort of Tyrion, like Lannister, pro Lannister feelings that Tyrion has. I don't know. Anyway, but
I can't believe that one. But then because and then they keep it going because then in the whole thing about Tyrion begging for the lives of the people.
By the way, I don't want to say pro Lannister. I want to say like sympathy. Not like he doesn't want to eliminate his house and his people. You know what I mean? Like
I think maybe Jaime.
I don't mean pro like he's gonna, he's like a double agent.
Oh, sure. He's probably gonna. Well, he already begged for lives of people that were fully
right. So I think that was his face. He was just like, we don't need to kill, people.
Could be. And either way, though, I was definitely enjoying the scene in spite of that.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it was amazing. I mean, again, think of another TV show, any other, even Walking Dead, any TV show
right.
with or even a movie for that matter. Think of a movie
right.
that could pull off a scene like that and not have you just go, oh my, what?
Right.
There were several scenes where it's such a tough thing to shoot because they actually had practical effects where things were exploding in real life.
Yeah.
And then you have to put a dragon above it with dragon fire coming down and make it look all real.
Yep.
And then you have actual battling between Dothraki and
it's just one episode of a show.
Yeah, it's one scene of one episode.
One episode. Yeah.
And actually the cavalry versus infantry, I've in the past 5 years become a bit of a nerd when it comes to that era of fighting, and the way they portrayed it was actually pretty accurate.
Yeah, it was great.
They're the things that you can do against cavalry is spears. Yep. So you just have to stand
pikes.
Yeah. You have to get a line and stand there.
Everything I know about this, by the way, I learned from Age of Empires.
And then they would break through, and the dragon would create a line, and so the Dothraki would pour through and get him from behind, and then you see Jaime like archers on me, and there's all this like actual military tactics and the way it would feel for that kind of situation.
But as Jaime pointed out later, they were also like these Lannisters, a lot of them are young.
Yeah.
They're not seeing that many battle at this point, and they're facing these vicious kids are raised as warriors.
Right.
Like there's no contest.
Right. So, but yeah, great scene. And we see there's actually a moment where Dickon saves Jaime.
Oh yes.
Anyway, so and then that scene when Bran manages to shoot the dragon, Daenerys lands to tend to the wounded dragon, and then Jaime sees an opening, grabs a lance / spear, gets on his horse and just rides. It's like, here's my chance. You know?
that's the opposite of Theon.
Right, exactly. And well, that and he had a chance. You know, if
I mean, it's a drag.
He got pretty close. You know what I mean? Like maybe the dragon would be looking the other way. Who knows? But anyway, the point is Jaime is like, well, I'm a warrior. That's who I am. You know, and I got chills watching that scene because it was so knight-like, right? It's like it's a knight in shining armor. You get on your horse, you get a lance, you charge.
Bran's ability to survive, by the way, is just crazy.
So that I didn't like. I mean, one, Bran came out of nowhere. I mean, where was he during this situation? Two, they go into a river that is
like lake, right?
No, I think it's a river, and they land just a little bit off of the shore,
and it's deep,
and it is like endless depth. It's like the
I thought it was a lake. Okay,
well,
whatever.
Regardless, it's eternally deep, like just a few feet off.
And
shore.
And with that armor, I'm sorry, you're not dragging Jaime easily without others seeing it, including the dragon.
Right. I mean, both of them are basically encumbered. I mean, Bran isn't in a onesie. You know, he's dressed in like leather and he's got weapons.
Right. I could see Bran swimming, but dragging a fully armored Jaime.
Right. Yeah. That was ridiculous. What they should have done was they should have just had, if they wanted to have Bran save him, have Bran, they go into the water and don't show the depth. Just be like, you don't know what
some
happened.
Water, but yeah.
One, two, if it was a real situation, they would have to come up to breathe. At which point the dragon would go, oh, there they are.
Yeah, well, what could have helped that is they should have shown another threat that makes her realize, we gotta go. Right. They've already shot him once. Now these other guys are coming to attack, trying to stand up for what they think just happened to Jaime. Right. Like, whatever, just fly away.
Or make it a river that like just washes him away.
Oh, that's even better because then yes.
Yeah. But it's like they end the episode with him falling into the depths.
But also unknowingly we know he's not about to die.
Because the writers now don't they're not George Martin.
No. And so that's one of the problems that has started is that now they're making the characters too precious.
Like and there's always like something that comes out of nowhere. Like when Jon also drowns.
Yeah, if they had been writing the first season, then what we all thought was going to happen right before they behead Ned Stark would have happened.
Right.
Which is that last second arrow, that last second thing. Right, yes.
Exactly. All right, let's take a break. When we get back, we'll continue. What do you say, Berto?
Yes, let's do it.
As always, Berto, I always think these episodes are going to be like, we'll talk for about 45 minutes. We have now been talking, I think, for 2 hours.
You chose to do all 7 episodes.
Somehow I think that we're not going to talk that long. But anyway, okay. Episode 5. Jaime and Bran return. They emerge from the water. They return to King's Landing. With the gold to buy the Golden Company, by the way. They don't know that yet. Against Tyrion's advice, Daenerys has Drogon burn Randall and Dickon Tarly alive for being loyal to Cersei.
Which, by the way, that part, I totally was on her side.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I'm not advocating dragons burning people here or anything, but I'm saying, look.
Not all dragons.
She gave them all a choice. Take a knee.
Right.
You don't want to take a knee, I'm going to have to do something about it. And it's not like she said, okay, because your 2 leaders didn't take a knee, I'm going to kill all of you. No, she said, you 2, come here, you're dead.
Right. Yeah, totally. And killing the leader is really a mercy to the human life count. You know what I mean? So, but I love that.
And that
scene.
fire is instant. It's not like.
Right. And I love that scene. Randall Tarly he's a dick. But he's also, because he was a dick to Samwell. But he's also a consummate lord, right? He's a consummate warrior. And so he's like, no, I'm not going to bend the knee. I know you're going to kill me, and that's just how it is, or you're probably going to kill me. And so that was pretty badass. And then Dickon,
Right.
Total, sweetheart of a kid. Had never seen dead people. He's talking to Bran and Jamie about the Tyrells dying, and he's like, it's different than I thought it was. There's like a lot of gore. A lot of poo. People shit themselves. And Dickon's like, I'm gonna go down with my dad, and then. And Randall's like, no. And but at the very end, Randall reaches out for Dickon's hand, and they hold hands as they get burnt alive. Yep. Just an amazing scene that, again, think of another show that could pull that off. You know, all other shows, it would be something different. People would be cleaner. Their eyebrows would look better.
Yep. Well, and again, that one stays more true to because you think they're not going to kill the kid. She's going to be merciful. No,
right.
They're both burned.
Yeah, she's like, nope, and that's it. And no consequence, they don't work in some morality thing that will come back and haunt her. It's just like, well, that's just it. Cersei says something interesting here again, as I was saying earlier. She's in this is when she says, so I should fight and die or submit and die, is what she says. So I think, like I was saying earlier, according to her perspective, she's like, I either submit and die or I fight and die. Anyway, we've already gone over.
And this is before she knows about the White Walkers, but she's talking about the fact that there's these dragons.
Right. Yeah. Jorah arrives at Dragonstone and reunites with Daenerys. What do you think about Jorah and his whole situation?
Well, it's like he's this combination of a father figure to Daenerys, but he's always sort of been in love with Daenerys, and he's had unrequited affections there. I felt his character has been a very interesting one, because when he started, he was like this total badass.
Yeah.
And I mean, warrior badass, right? And he could pretty much defeat almost anyone. But as the show went on, they started showing us his age. Yeah. And that was good, because sure, when he was in the gladiator pit, he still beat, but it wasn't easy. It came with a little difficulty. And then, do you remember when they were fighting against the insurrectionists and stuff? He was struggling a little bit, and it wasn't as. So I think they've done a good job of he's a badass, but he's getting old.
Right.
So I like that. And then the reunion was sweet, because I think he's kind of come to terms with his place in the whole Daenerys situation, but he promised her, and he's like a man of his word, and he's a true knight.
Right. They depict that well with him and with Brienne, in that knights, for the most part, were eternally loyal. It was like the Bushido code of samurai.
Yeah.
You serve your master unquestioningly, and it's your ticket to heaven in some ways.
Yeah, they weren't looking at it like, if I just put in a little more time, maybe I'll be king.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It is what it is. This is me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Jon learns that Bran and Arya are alive. He just sort of catches wind of that news, which I didn't like that scene, because Jon was all business. He was just sort of like, okay, interesting, da-da-da. And I'm thinking, if Jon found out that 2 more of his siblings are alive, he would have had at least, I wish they would have given a little happiness in that moment to indicate that he cared.
Shock, amazement. What?
Yeah.
Especially because he's the one, because you're waiting for the Arya-Jon reunion, because they had such a nice relationship.
Exactly. Jon decides to travel beyond the wall and capture a white in order to convince Cersei.
Oh my God.
What do you think?
Oh my God. This one started pissing me off. Because first of all, they're showing that Tyrion is making bad recommendations. And I don't know if they're doing it on purpose, or if it's just kind of like, hey, he makes some right, he makes some wrong. But, he was wrong about the ship attack. He was wrong about Casterly Rock.
Right.
And then he said... And then from Daenerys' perspective, he said, don't take the dragon, but she took the dragon and it sort of worked. So and then now he's like, yeah, I think that's a good plan. when the plan, even without all the context we have as viewers, I'd have to ask several questions. Like, wait a minute, why do you think there's going to be a lone walker?
Right.
Number one. Number two, if you're getting in range of a lone walker, doesn't it mean that you're now kind of in the range of where the other ones are?
Right.
In which case, you don't know what you're going to encounter. And so are you going to take all our best warriors with you?
They were expendable, not Jon Snow.
Jon and Jorah and the redhead guy.
They're expendable.
And the Hound.
They're expendable.
Well, okay, fine. Now I'm talking as a viewer. You're right. But But I was just like,
but yeah,
that's a dumb plan.
Well, I was like, well, okay, so here's the question then. What other option is available to them at this point?
Okay, yeah, and that's a great question. So first of all, I think that the assumption that Tyrion is making about his sister, unless he actually is subterfuging, like, I think that's a weird assumption to make, like that his sister, Cersei Lannister, is going to sit there and be like, well, that's a scary thing that you're showing me.
I guess I'll join you guys.
Especially because if I were Cersei, I'd be like, an undead creature? The mountain is right here. He's undead.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know. I just felt like that was extremely naive. And then Jon likes to put himself in these like, oh, I'm just going to go do it anyways, even though it's suicide.
I sort of felt like the writers were looking for a reason for an excursion in Beyond the Wall with Jon or with somebody, probably Jon, because in this season they wanted there to be some encounter, but they couldn't have a full-on encounter because that's next season in terms of the army, the living army against the dead.
Like, what would have been better or whatever.
But I'm trying. Okay, so the situation they're dealing with is they need to get Cersei to ally with them, and they don't have time to have a full-on war with Cersei, you know. And so, you know, what other options are available? And I think they knew it was sort of a long shot anyway. I think Jon Snow is like, well, I might die, it might not work, but it's our only chance. And so you have to wonder, what's another chance? The other thing is none of them really know Cersei. I guess Tyrion knows Cersei, so he would have been able to advise them. But anyway, like, just brainstorm, like, what else could they have done?
Well,
could they have stayed the course and just say, well, let's battle it out with Cersei and try to eliminate her off the map, and then we'll go north?
Well, right. For one thing, it seems like I'm assuming that Cersei still gets word from the Wall. I mean, for one thing, there is a wall to begin with, right?
Right.
So, like,
well, the wall by this point is people mostly considered a wall for the free folk.
Okay, fine.
Not against the White Walkers.
Fine. I guess I feel like, given how slow they move, either they were about to reach the wall or it was going to take them a long time. If it was going to take them a long time, then it was not a desperation moment. But it seems like they were close to the wall. So something that could have happened is like, look, we're not going to attack. We're going to let Cersei know something is about to happen in the wall. Don't take our word from it. Send a couple emissaries. Don't send your army. I'm not asking. Send a couple emissaries to just watch on the wall and then tell you what they see.
Right, yeah.
And by then, they didn't have a dragon, so they wouldn't have been able to take down the wall.
Right, yeah. Well, so that's the whole other thing. It's like, if they hadn't done what they had done, would the wall still be standing?
Yes!
Because the wall has this magical power to keep the White Walkers back. And
does it? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so the wall had magic that prevented the whites from even crossing it, even though sometimes they were able to cross it. But
well, that's even dumber because I didn't know that. But they didn't tell us that in the show. So in the show, they could have not had that.
I think they did tell us that in the show. But anyway, yeah, there's all these other options. I think it was a pretty cheap plot device to get an encounter, because how else would you write in? And you got to have an encounter. It's a story after all. It's not an accurate portrayal of an event. So like, how do you write in a story to get an encounter beyond the wall? Maybe someone's up there. Maybe Bran is still up there and calls out to Jon and says, "You got to come get me." I mean, that could have worked.
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest. Like, either they have to rescue someone, or maybe there was some piece of the puzzle that they need to go get. Like, for example,
another dragon glass quarry or something.
Which is tricky, but I think it is what it is. And they fully committed to the, I was thinking like at some point they were going to be like, that was a bad idea. But no, they fully committed to it.
Yeah.
So then they formed that plan.
Yeah. So Sir Davos smuggles Tyrion into King's Landing. Tyrion secretly meets with Jaime and offers an armistice. I love those scenes between Jaime and Tyrion.
Yes, very good.
Cersei accepts the offer to meet. Cersei informs Jaime that she's pregnant. Do you think she's pregnant?
Oh yeah.
You do?
I do think so.
How do you know? She could be lying.
No, she could be lying, but I don't think she's got a reason to lie.
Yeah, she does. She wants to manipulate Jaime
why?
And Tyrion. I think it's totally up in the air.
No, but that one seemed to have worked against her with Tyrion.
No, because I think she's trying to trick Tyrion into thinking that she cares about the future, in which she actually doesn't care about the future. Do you know what I mean?
Well, sure, to get him to think she was making a deal with them.
Right.
That's fair.
So, maybe
okay, that's fair.
She could be lying. We just don't know.
She could be lying.
Is it beyond her to lie about such a thing? No. Is it actually also possible that she's pregnant with Jaime's kid because they were, doing it? Okay. Davos retrieves Gendry and returns him to Dragonstone. He's got a big hammer now.
Yes, he does.
Like his dad. It's got super badass hammer, and he kills those two King's Landing guards.
Yes.
Davos tells Gendry to lie when he's like, we're going to meet up with Jon Snow now. I just want you to say your name is you're my nephew, and your name is Clovis, okay? And then Gendry just walks right up to him and says,
"I'm the bastard son."
What'd you think of that?
I thought that was awesome. Yeah. But for one thing, I had forgotten he was alive.
I didn't. So like I have in the books. I think in the books he is dead.
Well, I thought that he died at the hands of the Red Witch.
No, I think Davos actually saves him and like gives him a boat.
Yeah. I remember it after the fact, but before I saw him, I was like, I thought he was dead.
Man, I got chills when I had that. I got chills a lot of scenes, but when Davos is like, I have some business to do, I'm like, what business? and then we see this scene of a smith, right?
Right.
And I'm like, oh my God, it's Gendry.
Yeah. Well, and then theoretically, he's actually potentially Cersei's son from Robert.
No.
Right?
No, he's not Cersei's son.
He might be.
How could he be Cersei's son?
Because she says that she had a son from Robert and that she took care of it.
And it died.
Well, we don't know.
Oh, no. Gendry is this. We know who Gendry's mother is.
Who's the mother?
Well, Gendry was raised by her. It was I think
But we don't know that that's his mother.
Okay. But in the books and in the show, they clearly talk about how Robert Baratheon had bastards all over town.
But that's great misdirection, right?
I suppose.
Yeah. Because think about what that would mean. That would mean and I know that it's technically the Targaryens have the bigger claim or whatever, but out of the whole
either way, he is actually in line. So because Robert Baratheon didn't have any offspring with Cersei, then you immediately go toward.
But people don't know that, right?
What do you mean they don't know?
Well, Cersei's not going to admit that, and so.
It's not like Cersei's going to be, I guess Gendry's king now.
Right.
No, but the people, if you rise Gendry's not likely to be in that position, but Gendry does have a legitimate, a claim to the throne. I don't think Gendry cares. He doesn't seem like the sort of person who wants to be king.
I was just thinking that if he was the actual non-bastard son, that would make it even more powerful.
Yeah, but I think it's pretty certain that Gendry is the son of a wench or a prostitute who worked in King's Landing.
But think about the sweet justice. If towards the end of Cersei's career, she finds out that that's actually her son, and like he and Jaime kill her.
So Gendry. As soon as Gendry came on the scene, I was like, yes, Gendry. Okay. And again, my guess is Martin will not have this, satisfaction in the show that I think Gendry will not be talked about in the books ever again. With the Citadel ignoring the threat from beyond the wall, Samwell he steals several books and leaves with Gilly and Little Sam. At Winterfell, Littlefinger notices Arya spying on him and leads her to, find the letter. Beyond the wall, Jon, Jorah, and Gendry and the Hound and the Brotherhood the Brotherhood without banners and a group of free folk led by Tormund leave Eastwatch and pass the wall, intending to capture White as evidence for Cersei that the army of the dead is still real.
By the way, I was pretty upset that Arya was duped by Littlefinger.
Yeah.
Because she has been trained by the best.
Yeah, as that was happening, I was like, because correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what happened was they didn't know that Littlefinger was screwing with them until quite toward the end.
Right.
So yeah, that whole thing, whenever you have a rom-com and like you got to have that moment where the couple hates each other at the end and then they come back together, right? I thought this was totally like that. It was like So Arya finds this letter that was written by Sansa while she was being tormented by Joffrey and Cersei.
Right.
To ask Robb to not fight and to bend the knee, to have peace, essentially. And it was written long ago.
Right.
And for that, Arya is going to not only like be angry at Sansa,
but maybe kill her,
which makes sense. So you can be angry, but to consider Arya like a threat, or to consider Sansa a threat, like she not only is angry, but she's like, you want to be queen, don't you? You're a schemer. It's like, I understand if you would think that Sansa was scared or even a Lannister, like collaborator at the time.
They are kids.
Yeah.
So
but at the same time, I just felt like that's a pretty weak premise for a character like Arya, who seems kind of smart.
Well, and someone else reminded me that Arya served the Lannisters.
Right. Arya served Tywin.
So someone could be like, how come you didn't kill him when you had the chance?
Right. Yeah. I mean, they're both little girls. They're trying to survive. Exactly. I don't. So that whole scene, I was like, what?
And I also didn't like, look, she's someone who can obviously be invisible. Because you remember when she's watching Littlefinger, we've seen that these people, these assassins, what do they call them?
No face.
No faces. They can be invisible.
Faceless men.
So when he turns to look, she's not there.
Yeah.
It was too easy for him to spy on her.
Well, he's really good. So that part, I felt like he was playing it pretty well. The leap that she would get so angry at Sansa so quickly seemed really frustrating,
but an assassin like that, and she can't look around to make sure he's not spying on her.
But Littlefinger is very good. You know what I mean? So they're those are two very experienced people.
Fine.
And then that one scene where Arya is acting all creepy, and then when Sansa goes into Arya's room and finds that stuff, and Arya's like,
all I need is your face.
All I need is your face, and then pulls out the dagger. And then gives her the dagger?
Yeah.
I mean, what in the world was that?
That was bad.
Why would you... Okay, one, why are you threatening your sister?
And that was why I was getting so frustrated with Arya, with the character. I'm like, come on, she's not like this.
Right. Yeah. Maybe, at the very least, Arya would be like, fuck this shit, I'm out of here. I don't know what's happening. Sansa's lost.
Or I'm going to wait for Jon because this is bullshit. Or I'm going to go find Jon or something.
Right. Not just like, I'm going to... she never did that with anyone else. She never, terrorize them for a while, and then she'd either just kill him or she would forget about it.
And she knows Littlefinger is a deceptive freak, so why wouldn't she at least be like, wait a minute?
Well, actually, they know Littlefinger is, deceptive, but they don't know how deceptive until Bran eventually figures it out and tells them that they don't show us. But why would Arya give her the knife?
Yeah.
What is your...
I mean, I guess she was trying to show her how dangerous she is, but you're okay for now, but just watch it.
Yeah, okay.
It's just weak.
Right.
It's weak. Weak.
Why would you give a Valyrian steel dagger...
exactly.
To Sansa?
Right. That's her special freaking...
Yeah, what's wrong? Yeah, I was just like, what are they doing? Especially now when I look back on the season, it really bugs me. When I was watching it at the time, I was like, I don't know if I really like this.
Right.
But looking back now, it's like, come on. Okay. So getting back to the Jon, Jorah, Gendry.
The only exception is if that's Arya, but it still doesn't make sense based on how she was acting. If that's Arya actually figuring out what is up, and she's giving her the knife to be like, look into it or something,
Which isn't probably what happened.
Yeah.
So I loved all the little conversations, although it was a lot of walking and talking when they're beyond the wall.
Walkie-talkies.
Yeah, lots of these little moments between the Hound and Tormund but there's all this conflict, because Jorah's father used to kill Tormund's people.
Yep.
Gendry is perhaps the heir to the Iron Throne against Jon and Dany.
And Jon doesn't know that he's the true heir.
Right. The Hound used to fight for the Lannisters. The Brotherhood used to fight against the Lannisters. Gendry was captured and sold by the Brotherhood. Jon and the Free Folk used to fight.
Yeah.
Jorah betrayed the Starks way back before the books even started. That's why he was exiled to across the Narrow Sea, because he sold slaves.
Oh.
But anyway, okay, episode 6.
Oh, and by the way,
what
didn't they already encounter the polar bear?
Yeah. So somewhere
That's in episode 6.
Yeah, episode 6. Yeah.
Okay.
Why would you want to talk about that?
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, I think even if we're like, yeah, that's a great plan. I think once they encounter that polar bear, we should have turned back. Because is that the only polar zombie?
Yeah.
And it killed like a whole bunch of us.
Yeah.
And we are kind of screwed here. And what if we encounter other creatures that are zombies?
What if there were 2 zombie polar bears?
Yeah.
We'd all be dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, not a great premise. At Winterfell, Littlefinger plots to isolate Sansa. Tensions between Arya and Sansa grow. At Dragonstone, Tyrion counsels Daenerys about her upcoming negotiations with Cersei. Beyond the Wall, Jon leads this raiding party. Okay, they capture a white, which, now that they're there, I guess it kind of...
Well, might as well get it. Because
it kind of made some sense.
Yeah.
Jon and Gendry they're coming. Jon says to Gendry, return to Eastwatch. Now,
yeah, you know that trek we just did for all those days that took forever?
So
I want you to do it in like 10 minutes.
So let's break this whole thing down because at first as I'm watching the show, I loved it. I was in to win, because again, I'm a nerd and I wasn't scrutinizing it. And then afterwards I started thinking, wait, so Gendry ran back to Eastwatch, tells them to get a raven to Daenerys.
Fly all the way to Dragons.
And then in my head, I'm like, how far is that? And how fast can a raven fly? It's
right.
Like, and so then I immediately kind of did a rough calculation and said, like, there's no way. There's just no way.
No way.
Well, then, yeah. So let's break this down. Okay. So they're at that lake. Gendry runs
Although
off.
I could see Bran having sent a raven as soon as he's seeing what's happening, before Gendry has to run to the wall.
Bran?
The kid. Bran. Sorry.
Start over. What?
I could see Bran sending because maybe Bran was sitting there looking. He's like, "Oh shit, they're in trouble. I'm gonna send a raven right now."
Oh, huh.
But why would he send a raven to Daenerys? Like that wouldn't.
No, I don't think that happened.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay. So they run to the lake. They go out on that rock. The army of the dead start falling into the lake.
And they're like, we hate water.
Which didn't make a lot of sense.
So we better not have to tie chains later underwater because we hate water.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the whole thing was like, how convenient that you have a lake, an entire lake with a rock in the middle that all you fuckers can walk across with being okay. And the whites who are objectively lighter than you because they don't have any flesh on their body, they all just plummet. You know what I mean?
And also, I thought winter was here.
Right.
Is that the coldest we're gonna get?
Right.
That's not that bad.
Wouldn't it be completely frozen over?
It gets way colder in the Great Lakes.
Yeah, exactly. So that was, but again, while I was watching it, I loved it. But anyway, so let's break it down. So let's say that they're trapped on the lake, midday or something. It's probably later, but let's say it's noon.
Yeah.
So he runs to Eastwatch. Now, you could argue that on their, they went overnight to get to where they were getting, but maybe they were sort of meandering a little bit,
looking around.
Yeah. Or
they don't know where it is.
Or going slow. Yeah, they're hunting. They're not going in a straight line per se. They're just trying to find something. And whereas Gendry does a full on just sprint beeline. Now, Gendry has never even seen snow, as he talks about. What's the chance that he's going to navigate? Because as he's going away from Eastwatch, he's not thinking, I might have to make this trek back by myself. So now,
but maybe the wall is visible.
Yeah, maybe. So, but anyway, so it's probably say 4 hours, right? It couldn't be an hour, right? It'd have to be his run would have to be like a long time.
But again, this is a very mild winter we're talking about.
Yeah. Okay, so then at Eastwatch they send a raven to Dany. Now, Eastwatch to Dragonstone, you know how many miles it is?
Oh, no.
It's 2,000 miles.
Oh.
Now, there's different estimates because Martin rarely talks exactly about how far things are, but he does write the length of the wall. as being like something like hundreds of miles. And so, and the distance of the wall is way shorter than the distance from Eastwatch to King's Landing. And so anyway, so about 2,000 miles. So that's basically like from Seattle to Chicago or something, or, you know what I mean? And so okay. So how fast do you think a Raven could fly from here to Chicago? Isn't Chicago 2,000 miles? Because isn't New York 3,000 miles?
That sounds about right.
Okay. So how long would it take, do you think, for a Raven to fly?
Okay. It would take a Raven 3 days.
Yeah. So it's about 3 or 4 days, 2 to 3 days. Yeah. So now let's say
that's not stopping. That's not eating.
Right. Well, you could say they stopped at different points and got another Raven and it went somewhere.
Fair enough.
But who knows? So, but let's sort of cut that back to 20 hours or something. Let's say the Ravens are special Westeros Ravens, like
super Ravens.
Yeah. So that's 20 hours. Okay. So then, now Dany has to fly back.
Yeah. Well, and it's like there must have been some discussion.
Well, even if there was 10 minutes of discussion, you still have a 20 to 40 hour flight back.
I mean, you got to pack some provisions. Does she not eat?
Yeah. So that's the other thing. How do you sleep on a 40-hour ride on a dragon?
Well, and it's not 40 hours because the dragon is super fast.
Right. So let's say, again, 10, 20 hours, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So then the other question is, how long would it take for a lake to freeze over again? You have liquid water.
Well, during that winter, it never freezes.
Yeah. Well, calculations, it actually would take about 2 days.
Okay.
I didn't think that because
But in what kind of weather?
Well, even when it's super cold, it takes a while for standing water to freeze enough far down so that it could support people walking across.
Have you seen the YouTube videos of the storms in the South Pole?
No.
There's these researchers in these research stations, and they'll crack these thick metal doors that they have just to show. And it is like a freaking hurricane happening outside.
Yeah.
And if you stepped outside, you're frozen, you're dead, in minutes. That's what I expected Winter Beyond the Wall to get to.
Right. So let's say it's not that bad. Let's say it's, I don't know. Let's just say it's a very cold winter normal day or something.
Yeah.
Now, mathematically, so again, at first I was watching it, liked it. Then I started thinking about it. I was like, oh my God, that's ridiculous. They didn't think about how far things were. But then I actually did calculations, looked online, and it all kind of works out if they were on that rock for a couple days or 2 or 3 days.
Uh-huh.
Now, they made it look like they were only there one night. So again, with a little bit of give and a little bit of giving them benefit of the doubt, it is possible if things were at the upper limits of their flying speed and that kind of stuff, But again, a little silly, and I'm just trying to think of another way they could have done it, right? It's like the way that I thought they could have done it was that Daenerys was there all along. She went up there and was flying around watching. And was
because the right thing, the reason it's getting this way is because it's getting so rushed, right? Yeah. Because a totally different angle would have been not so much about showing Cersei a stupid zombie. Daenerys realizes that she needs to go meet the North because she's gonna try to. Sure, he can bend the knee, which he hasn't yet, right? But she's like, I need to meet the North. So they all go to the North and they stage a ground in Winterfell. And then from there, the thing happens where they have to go beyond the wall. But now the dragons are, stuff like that, you know? Instead, it's what it is.
Now, when you were watching it, did you like the scene?
I visually, it was great. And it was obviously...
But were you rolling your eyes as you were watching it?
I was just already annoyed about the whole plot. And then I was like, well, of course you're going to get your fucking dragons killed. I didn't think they were going to lose all of them, but I'm like, of course.
Yeah.
So it was frustrating from that perspective.
But you kind of need that because when the army of the dead fights the army of the living,
you need some way for there to be
absolutely.
You need a threat.
I totally agree with you. I just to your point, I wish they had arrived at that in a better way. That's it.
Like they came out of nowhere and they.
But I think once we're going, and that the scene with the spear was amazing.
Yeah, it was great.
He grabs and he's so composed, and these guys are so scary.
Yeah.
And he grabs. They hand him the spear, and he's just like slice.
Right. And so Jon, can't really get away. He can't get on the dragon, which was a little weird. But anyway, he goes off and he gets dragged underneath the water.
Right.
And then he emerges, and I pretty much knew he'd emerged because it's like, well, that can't be the death of Jon. No. But anyway, and then you got to think, well, maybe the Lord of Light saved him again. Who knows? He emerges, and then some of the whites see him and they start chasing him. And I was thinking, well, now what are you going to do, right? And then you see this horseman coming out of nowhere, like killing all these things. Now, other people have been saying, like, what? Benjen, what the hell? Where did he come from? You know what I mean?
Right.
But like, again, as a reader of the books, Benjen Stark is like a really big deal. Like he's barely in the TV show.
He's been twice, right?
Yeah.
3 times. When he first went, and
there's a moment when he's living.
Yeah, well, it's the beginning of the show when he like goes and
he goes on a ranging.
Yeah, we never see him again. Yeah. And then he saves Sam.
Does he save Sam? And he's like half dead.
Yeah.
I forget. But anyway, as soon as I saw like a horseman, I was like, it's Benjen Stark. Of course it's Benjen Stark. Like Benjen Stark has been, on that side of the wall for a long time.
Yeah.
And is an excellent ranger. He knows how to get around. He knows how to,
and he's half undead.
And he's half dead. And so he this is perfect. He's probably been monitoring the army.
Yeah.
It took him a while to come down there. He sees Jon emerge. I think he's like, okay, here's my chance. I get it.
But now he's dead, right?
Now he's probably dead.
Because he
got consumed. It's, again, the writers are like, well, we got to wrap up that plot line of like, because Martin
can't keep coming back.
Yeah, you got to have. There's all these question marks like, where's Arya's direwolf? Where's Benjen Stark? There's all these questions. Is Jon actually a target? Like they're trying to actually answer these questions, which Martin just never answers. And so anyway, I thought it was pretty great. But again, Jon, when he falls underneath the water, you're like, well, of course he's not going to die because these writers they're not going to kill Jon.
The thing that like depresses me a little bit is there's a lot of times where Jon doesn't do anything that saves him. Other people do stuff to save him.
Yeah.
And so there's not a lot of moments where you can look back and say, well, but he did do this and he did do that and he did do this.
Well,
it's more like,
he's almost suicidal, and the Lord of Light is always looking out for him. But let's take a break, and we get back. We'll finally get to episode 7. All right, we're back from the break. If you haven't already become a patron, please do so. Go to patreon.com, become a patron of the podcast.
It's now the year 2019.
And you will get access to all of the premium episodes in which we do deep dives on various different things. Okay, Berto, episode 7. Just watched it.
Star Wars, right?
Nights ago, yeah. Called The Dragon and the Wolf. Big scene with many of the characters at the Dragon Pit. We got Brienne and the Hound talking.
Yeah, some big reunions.
Yeah, we got Pod and Tyrion.
Yep.
We got Tyrion and Cersei. We got Tyrion and Bronn. We have Cersei and Daenerys meeting for the first time.
That's right.
We have Jon and Cersei meeting for the second time because Cersei came to Winterfell.
Oh, yeah, but that was like...
long time ago.
And it was brief. And
episode 1, season 1.
Yeah.
The Hound and the Mountain...
face off.
I thought that confrontation was pretty dumb.
Yeah, especially because like the Mountain really wouldn't do anything.
Well, that and there's a lot of tension between a lot of different players.
Yeah,
and the Hound just decides I'm gonna walk over to those fuckers and have a word with my brother. You know what I mean? Like, what about Tyrion and Jaime and Cersei and there's
it was weak writing because it's like, hey, watchers, viewers. Watch this. Remember, I don't know if you remember, they're brothers and there's this big conflict between them.
Right.
Well, it's coming.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. I was like, they're probably setting something up for. But I think all of us know that that's a thing. You know what I mean?
You didn't need to if any. Right. Anyways.
And again, one of the enemies is within 3 feet of Cersei. And all the Mountain does is just kind of step forward, you know? Like, Cersei's army should be, like, surrounding her. Because all the Hound would have to do is, like, throw a hammer at her head and kill her, you know?
And in fact, what I thought was going to maybe happen, which would have been a cooler scene, is the Mountain, even though he's a monster now, some weird flash of recognition in his eyes, and he just beelines for his brother as the now monster he is. And it's like it takes Cersei all her yelling and command to like stop him or something.
Ooh.
Yeah, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Because the other way around felt like, and in fact, they're showing us a lot of like the Mountain isn't very scary right now.
Right. There's a lot of Mountain almost killing people, or you know,
not doing anything.
Yeah, he's like. He has killed people as a dead person, but in this season there was a lot of like him standing there and people kind of looking at him as if they're scared and him not doing anything. You know,
right?
You know. Anyway, we're getting to a scene that I want to talk about. At King's Landing, the White is presented to the Lannisters. Cersei demands Jon's neutrality in the Great War, but he upholds his oath to Daenerys. What did you think about that? Should Jon have lied in that moment?
No. That would have been antithetical to his character, and a flat out lie that she wouldn't have believed in the first place. No, he did it absolutely correct.
Right. She wouldn't have believed him. What's the point? Blah, blah, blah. Tyrion meets privately with Cersei. Amazing scene.
Oh, by the way, sorry. What I did think was weak is that Tyrion and them hadn't prepared a realistic proposal for what would happen after they supposedly defended.
Yeah, they should have said like, look, we'll fight together, and then afterwards we'll give you Casterly Rock.
Yeah, like we'll split up or something.
Yeah, right.
And then she would have still not gone for it, but like they didn't have any proposal.
But here's the thing: Tyrion meets with Cersei.
Yeah,
they, Tyrion's like, just do it, man. If you're just gonna kill me
now.
Just do it.
And she comes close.
And she comes close, and that scene was so awesome, man. The Dinkles is such a great actor.
Oh God!
And he's just like. And you know, and when she's like, okay, I'm not going to kill him, and you just see, and he kind of stumbles over to the wine station
because he is really an amazing actor, but also now as a character, it's such a great character, because he's like, I'm so brave where I shouldn't be because I'm like this little small person and stuff.
But he's so brave.
He's probably the bravest person.
Totally.
And then at the same time, he's totally human and scared.
He's totally human. He's just like, oh my God. So then they have a conversation. She's like trying to signal or accidentally signaling that she's pregnant. And then they have a conversation. We don't see it. So maybe that's what I meant earlier by pro Lannister, was that Tyrion's like, we don't have to kill everyone. Because I think that's actually what they're kind of setting up. Like throughout this whole season, Tyrion has been like, Dany, you don't have to kill everyone.
Right.
You know, like
so maybe you're right. Maybe Tyrion was like, listen, I have a lot of influence with these people.
Yeah.
Like, why would I not be dead? I am a Lannister. Why? Trust me, I have a lot of. And the thing is, I guarantee. I'm giving you my guarantee. This is not going to end up in bloodshed. You're not going to die. You know, all these kind of things.
Right. So, but that doesn't make a lot of sense that Cersei wouldn't march north then if Tyrion gave her a
no, because now to your point earlier, it is fairly within her character to then use that moment and be like, okay, because if she had killed Jaime, or if Jaime had gone along with the plan, then it actually gives her a strategic advantage, assuming she's underestimating, because she's underestimating the White Walkers. Because look, she only saw one of those dead things, right?
Yeah.
She hasn't seen the Night King or the White Walkers or the giants or the dragon.
Right.
So, like, the truth is that from her perspective, now I'm kind of going back on my earlier thing, from her perspective, she's like, oh, that sounds reasonable. Okay. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Then Cersei and Jaime have their fight, and I think Littlefinger died before this scene.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a scene. So let's get to that. So at Winterfell, Littlefinger.
No, maybe not.
No, I think so, because I remember thinking when Jaime and Cersei were having a fight, I was like, oh, they've already killed someone. They killed Littlefinger.
Or maybe they had at least set up the that now they were accusing him.
Yeah.
Maybe they hadn't sliced his throat yet. I don't remember, but
either way,
the
fight, the fight, the scene between Cersei and Jaime, I was like,
Jaime's dead.
Yeah. Did you think that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And in fact, I thought this is the Game of Thrones I know and love.
Right.
Even though I love Jaime's now character, he's dead.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be, we were just going to see a flash of steel from the mountain. And just like with Ned Stark, and we were just going to see Jaime's head, just like a split second of Jaime's head coming off.
Oh, you know what I thought was going to happen?
What?
I thought when Jaime's like blah blah blah, and she's like, and she actually motions to the mountain, and nothing happens.
Yeah.
I thought as Jaime is going to be like, that's what I thought, whatever, and he starts walking away. I thought they were going to show us the camera angle from Jaime's face walking away, and then you see this hand grab his head. And just tear it off or something.
Oh, God damn, son. Your brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when he lived, I was just so happy. I'm like, okay, he gets to live another day. What do we think he's going to do? Do you think he's going to ride up and join Jon? Where's he going?
Yeah, he's definitely going north. But the other weird thing is that's why this one didn't make as much sense for me, because Cersei did love him.
Yeah.
And so if she's to the point of killing him, first of all, I actually, even though I wanted that scene with the head ripoff, I wouldn't think that's how she would want to see him die, right?
And she didn't.
She didn't.
And you could tell the way they were writing it, the way they directed it, she wanted him to obey, and she had a flash of thinking well, maybe I should kill him, but then she let him go because she loved him.
But she knows that he's now a liability to her, because now her plot of...
But she loves him, so so she can't kill him, and he's basically pointless now, because without armies, what's he gonna do?
But he's got all the information from that side. So him joining up with the North, assuming they don't kill him, because now there is Bran, and there is Jon, and
Oh, right.
So there's a lot of reasons why he might die.
Oh, boy, yeah.
But, I think that Tyrion and the Night Lady, Brienne.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Brienne.
I think they would intercede, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Bran's above that. Bran's not going to be like, you pushed me, revenge.
Yeah. Plus, Bran would be like, thank you. You actually, put me on a path to becoming a three-eyed raven.
Yeah.
There's a scene between Jon and Theon, with Jon in the throne room, where Jon forgives Theon, which I thought was just
what he can forgive him
for what he can't forgive him for, which I just thought was just a great scene.
Yeah, that was good.
Really, just powerful and real and realistic seeming, and I just love that scene. They're in a boat on the way to the White Harbor, and Jon and Daenerys make some, the what do they call it? The two-backed monster, the horizontal mamba. They did the deed.
They finally consummated.
Throughout this season, they were dropping hints that that Daenerys had the hots for Jon. And so they did. Now, Daenerys has had sex with other people. It's not
casually.
She used to have a fuck buddy. In that one.
She doesn't have sex hang-ups.
She's not a virgin.
Yeah.
So now for Jon, I think he's only had sex with what's her face. With
if anything, Daenerys she was like, he's too small for me. She's used to fucking these huge warriors.
Yeah.
They go kill and then they fuck her.
Right. She also had sex with
so this is a change for her.
Drogo. Yeah.
Change of pace.
Yeah.
Someone who's shorter than her.
Now, as we're watching this, they're interspersing the scenes with Sam and Bran about talking about how
that's right. And
related.
So it's really
right. So
incest is best.
Well, is it incest when it's nephew aunt?
Yeah. Well, I saw a joke that was, it says, Jon says, "May I come in?" And then Daenerys says, of course, comma, I incest.
So like, as you were watching this, what were you thinking as you're watching them have sex?
Well, I was thinking the animal part of me was like, yeah. And then the fan part of me was like, yeah. And then the like their nephew and aunt part of me was like, ooh.
Yeah. As I'm watching, I'm just like, oh.
But I do have to say, isn't like Targaryen incest like the rule of law?
Right. Totally. Yeah. They all, I mean, off and on different generations, but yeah, they would marry their sisters. They, I think Aegon, the original Targaryen who came to Westeros, had married 2 of his sisters.
And so she's probably getting pregnant on top of everything.
Well, that's actually, I hadn't thought about that. Right. So right. Because they keep talking about that, right? She's like, I can't have kids.
But John, you can from a Targaryen.
And John's like, how do you know?
Have you let me try?
Yeah. And so what do you think is going to happen with that?
Well, it's really interesting because, first of all, now they're going to be like, hey, John, FYI, you're the heir.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And how's she going to feel about that?
Right. Yeah.
And then, so I think at some point John has to die so that she's basically it, but it's really her son.
Yeah, I kind of think like he's gonna die. He's the Jesus character.
Yeah, because he's already died, right?
He can't live on forever.
He's living on borrowed time, and he's always sacrificing his fucking self.
Right.
There's no way he's not gonna sacrifice.
And he doesn't
himself.
seem to want to be king and all that kind of stuff. But they could marry and they could be king. I feel like a lot of people want them to rule, but now that they're aunt and nephew, it gets a little weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So there was that. Now, so what do we have here? We have 3 different factions. We got Team Dany and Jon. Mm-hmm. Maybe we could call him Janny. Team Janny, which comprises of the North, all the Bannermen.
Not Donnie.
Yeah, I thought Donnie, but Janny. The Northmen, we got Dothraki, the Unsullied, the Free Folk. There's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people.
Yeah. Some of the Tarly's men who succumbed.
Ooh. You know what that means?
What?
If Cersei is able to somehow defeat them all, then she could say, tonight I killed a lot of people.
We got the Vale. We got the Knights of the Vale. She has 2 dragons. We got Sansa, Arya, maybe even Jaime.
Yeah, some really badass killers in the mix.
Yeah.
But let's be honest. The things they're going up against, that shouldn't matter.
What?
That they have a couple badass killers and an assassin and a thing. I mean,
right. Arya's not going to be any better at killing the dead than anyone else.
You're just a warrior at that point, and you need your special weapons. So they need to make all the dragon glass spears and the things.
But we got to see Arya kill at least one more person as
absolutely.
A disguise. Like, there's got to be some.
Don't you think she's going to kill Cersei? Maybe.
Well, there's so many people who who the poetic, because actually I think who's going to kill Cersei is Jaime.
Yeah, that's what
because
I thought.
in the prophecy it says a younger brother will kill you.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, and so she always thinks that's Tyrion. But Jaime actually was born.
Oh, then it's Jaime
after.
Yeah, of course.
And Jaime killed the last Mad King, and so
no, then it's definitely Jaime because I kept thinking. That's what's going to happen. In fact, I thought the end of this season was going to end with Jaime killing Cersei.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Also, Team Janny, we got Tyrion, Theon, Yara, the Hound, Beric Dondarrion with his flaming sword.
Yes.
Gendry, the Onion Knight, Sam, and Gilly.
Now, they don't have anyone that can bring them back at this point.
Right.
There's no red anyone's.
Yeah, so that's another thing. They had to get rid of
the priest
Thoros because he could bring people back, and they don't have the other priestess.
She's conveniently hiding.
Yeah. And then you have Team Cersei, who is not that much, but the Golden Company, which is the most badass, huge army that's coming. And she's got Euron with all the Greyjoy ships. And
they've never shown us the Golden Company, right?
No. We got the mountain.
That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, we got the mountain and we got Qyburn.
You know what I imagine the Golden Company? Like, remember in the movie 300, the Persians?
Yeah.
Like that, when they first arrive and they got these beasts.
I think it's actually like that. Yeah. No, I think they have elephants. They've got it all. They've got, I think, and they're like a whole hodgepodge of the best warriors in the Dothraki, cities, all the free cities, the Marines, and so these are basically like the best army of Asia together. Yeah, you know what I mean.
The Mongolians.
Yeah. So I imagine when we see that army, it's going to be quite a spectacle. Yeah. And so we got Team Cersei, we got Team Janny, and we have Team Night Witch people.
There's this whole thing with them too, which is, I guess they serve some sort of natural force of nature role, because otherwise they really don't have an objective, right?
Well, they do. Their objective is to kill humans. That's their objective.
But I'm saying that sounds to me like a hurricane or a tornado or an earthquake, not like, I want to rule so I can have fun things and eat good foods. And,
No. They don't live. They're dead.
They just want to annihilate all living humans.
Well, that's why the Children of the Forest made them, actually. Because, so Children of the Forest are like those fairy people. And they're living in Westeros, and they're having a good time with all the old trees and the old gods.
And then these humans come in.
And then they're the first men, they call them. They start coming over and start colonizing. And the Children of the Forest, I think at first were kind of cool with them, but then after a while they're just like, God, get out of our lands. And so they changed at least one of them, the Night King, by putting dragon glass into his heart. Actually, incidentally, that scene where that Bran sees where he transforms the man into the Night King.
Yeah.
Is this behind them is that same mountain, that Arrowhead Mountain. Oh. So it's like that same spot.
I see.
But it's springtime. It's like it's not winter.
Okay.
Later on, the Children of the Forest actually made the North permanent winter too. Like back in the day, it had seasons too. The North, like Beyond the Wall did. Anyway, so the Night King, so the Children of the Men said, I'm going to change this guy into our slave, and he is going to kill all the humans.
Right.
And then the monster started to kill the Children of the Men, blah, 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 or the Children of the Forest.
Now, why do you think the White Walkers, like there's not that many White Walkers.
Right.
We've seen maybe 5 of them.
Yeah, 5 to 10.
And they can't make more, it seems like. Except from babies, right? They can take babies.
Yeah, I think that's how they make more is they can through a ceremony, I think they can actually make more of them. But
and that's why they were stealing those babies.
I think so.
Seems that way.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, now the other thing is, so they have these giants, they have a dragon.
Yeah.
And they have that looked like a lot more than the 100,000 or whatever they were saying.
It's hard to estimate, but I think that's the.
Now, if you have a dragon that can burn down the wall, First of all, I don't know how they get tired because it's dead. So can't they just take the whole wall down?
Well, it only needed to take one part.
Yeah,
of the
I guess because they got to get through.
Yeah,
and then,
the D&D nerd in me wanted the dragon to shoot frost, because in Dungeons and Dragons you have red dragons who have fire,
right, and then you have
white dragons that do frost. But of course, how would you get the thing? Yeah, it was sort of magic fire.
Yeah,
which I don't really understand. But anyway, so who do you think will rule in the end, Berto, at the end of next season?
If it were,
who's going to sit on that Iron Throne?
Yeah, so if it were old school Game of Thrones, I would put some bets on the White Walkers. But given as it is, Cersei's dead. She's gonna die. She's gonna die. And so I think Jon is gonna sacrifice, and basically it's gonna be Daenerys, but really her son will,
Right.
In fact, there's a likelihood that they both die, and it's just the son lives on.
Right. So Dany is the most logical person. It's the most poetic because we've had, because of Robert's rebellion, and then against the Targaryen, and now we have like a new, dynasty of a new type of Targaryens. And so in terms of the grand scheme of things, it would make sense that Dany would be. But, Jon could be too, because
Jon's got the rightful
He's
position.
a Targaryen as well. Right, so,
and he's the eldest male left.
Right, he's the eldest male of the eldest male.
Yeah,
so he's Prince Rhaegar's son.
Now
in a legal marriage that they
Right.
found out.
Now, the problem is that the followers of Daenerys are not following her because she's such and such's daughter.
Right. They don't care.
So really, that doesn't mean much. Like if they were to get in a conflict, which I don't think would happen because it seems like they're falling in love.
Right.
But you saw Tyrion was very worried about this development.
Right.
He was like, "Oh fuck!"
Now they're gonna
Literally.
Yeah. Yeah. Now Tyrion could be on the Iron Throne.
Yeah, but I mean, he's got no claim now.
But if Dany and Jon die,
only if somehow the rules change and Dany says, "You know how you said that we can't keep doing this with the blah blah blahs and the blah blah blahs? I think it's you.
well,
You're the only one who can really, you know."
if a bunch of the leaders die, and including Cersei and
Well, sure, it's whoever's got the power.
yeah, and Tyrion would be a logical choice.
I just think it would have to be a little more given to him or something.
Yeah,
but-
well, I don't know, but I could see Tyrion and Sansa actually were married, and could technically be king and queen. I mean, because you got the Lannisters and the Starks, the North and the South. You know that would work. Euron could be on the Iron Throne, but I don't think so. Theon could be a ruler. He's not going to be on the Iron Throne, but he could be, Lord of the Pike. And then, of course, Gendry. He could end up.
Again, I mean, Gendry would have a claim, but I think his claim would disappear the instant that we find out Jon's truth.
But I mean, I'm talking Jon dies.
Oh yeah,
everyone dies except for Gendry. I mean, imagine like everyone dies.
Yeah,
except for Gendry and the Hound or something. So because you got to wonder why. But you got to wonder why was Gendry brought back? Like, why is Gendry even there?
Yeah.
Because
I think there's gonna be some sort of thing with Cersei where if it isn't her son for real, at the very least,
I almost guarantee you it's not.
Well, now we're gonna have to bet on it. But in either case, he's gonna have a bigger claim to the throne she's claiming right now.
Right.
But forget the Targaryens, because she could be like, who?
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Right.
But this guy's got a legitimate claim to that throne.
Right. Within that law.
Yeah.
Right.
So then I think something's got to come from that, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they brought him back. Also, you know who could be? Arya.
Arya could sit on the Iron Throne?
Whoever the fuck she wants to be.
Oh.
Right?
That would be an awesome ending. Like,
can you imagine if they show
Dany's sitting on and then all of a sudden she pulls her.
I think people would be upset, but
well, that's the thing.
Actually,
that's the thing. Like, you can't end this without pissing people off.
Do you know what's gonna happen, dude?
What?
I've got it. It's gonna be Dany sitting on the throne with her little pregnancy, right? And she's looking down and she's thinking of Jon. But as the credits are starting to roll, she pulls off the mask and it's actually Arya, who pulls off the mask and it's actually the blonde chick who killed her, who pulls off the mask and it's the original guy that
Jakanagar,
yes.
Jakanagar.
And then he takes off the mask and it's the spider.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think, like, how can you end this? And because I know these writers are miles ahead of the fans, it's minus a couple moments. You know what I mean? They really know, like, okay, what do the fans want? And were these guys involved in Lost? Were these guys?
Is Benioff in there or something?
I think, or Battlestar Galactica.
I don't know.
Anyway, they don't want to fall prey to all these other great shows,
right?
Including Sopranos, which was on HBO, that had like a really weird ending.
No, it had the greatest ending of all.
Well, it was a cool ending, but it wasn't. There was a lot of controversy around it.
No. Yes, there was, but it was great.
Ending of Sopranos?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
he gets killed.
Yeah. So don't stop.
We should do an episode on this.
So the writers are thinking, okay, well, how do we get out of this?
Yeah.
And have our because everything could come crashing down if this ends badly, like the one you just said. That will taint the entire series. They'll just be like, the entire thing was a joke.
Yeah.
And so you've got to end this thing. I mean, yeah. So to me, it's got to be Dany. Because if it's not Dany, so let's say Dany doesn't live. Half of this show, or a good 25% of the books and the show, has been about Dany's slow trudge toward the Iron Throne.
No, man. No. I got it, man. No. They have been spelling this out for us. It's called Game of Thrones, right?
Right.
But in the end, the realization is going to have to be that this system is not working for them. So that the Iron Throne is going to get melted down. And finally, what's going to happen is it's either going to be, you're right, it's either going to be Tyrion or the Spider. And the Spider I thought before because they were starting...
I have a new idea, but...
Because they're going to... Daenerys, these other people, they're going to have to realize that you can't keep doing this like one ruler for the whole land and it's an empire and all this bullshit.
That's what I thought, or that's what came to mind, was like, maybe it'll return to 7 kingdoms again.
Yes, I like it.
Like you got Theon and Yara.
Yes.
You got Sansa and maybe Jon, I suppose.
Yeah.
You've got Daenerys down there.
Well, Jon's dead, but yeah, Sansa is Queen of the North.
And maybe Ilaria is still alive in the dungeons at the end. And she can go back to Dorne. And then you've got the Vale.
No. And even better, Daenerys is not on the Iron Throne. She realizes that her true calling and her people are back out to the wilderness.
Oh.
And she leaves Tyrion in charge of the freaking thing.
Oh.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
That would satisfy a lot of
shit.
Because one, a lot of people get to live and a lot of people get to do things. Two, it answers a question of, what is the Game of Thrones? And 3, it sets up for like a sequel in which you have further conflicts.
Someone trying to unify it again.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, because then they also have to like hopefully at least temporarily learn the lesson of like this grand unification only brought us so much chaos and destruction that we were so vulnerable to the North. And would the North even have been a problem if maybe the North is a reaction to this, all that kind of stuff.
Right. And so that would be poetic because it would go back to prior to Aegon's conquest.
That's right.
In which there were 7 kingdoms.
Yeah.
And so, wow.
By the way, what of the gods, which ones of the gods do you think are real and which ones are not?
What do you mean?
Well, because there's the fire god.
Yeah.
There's the old gods.
Yeah. I think the fire, the Lord of Light might be an old god, or maybe it's a newish god.
Well, but it seems like there
god from the other land.
There definitely seemes to be something called the Lord of Light that seems real, right?
Because then you got the drowned god. But then you have the 7, and then you have they refer. There's an answer to this question, but there's the old gods, and I don't remember. I think there's a whole system.
And clearly, the faceless people have some god that's real,
right? And they actually talk about that
because they have magic. I mean, there's no way they can.
They talk about that god,
yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Again, Dungeons and Dragons. There's always a pantheon of gods that if you worship them, you get special pantheon powers from that particular god,
Yeah.
And so, now, let's see. What other questions do I have for you? Let me ask you one question. What do you think Cersei is going to do? Because I think everything else is pretty obvious. You got Team Gianni going north to full on battle with the dead.
That's right.
And they're probably just going to leave the South behind and be like, fuck it, who cares?
And one more dragon will die. Both the ice dragon and one fire dragon will kill each other.
So there's got to be a big battle up there.
Yeah.
But so the big question is, what's Cersei going to do? Is she just going to sit there? She's probably not going to just sit there. She's probably going to start gobbling up lands, right?
Yeah.
With the Golden Company.
Right.
The other thing is what if the Golden Company, this would be a scene that I can imagine happening next season. The Golden Company is like raging in the South and taking over these lands, and Team Janny's kind of freaking out, but they're like, well, we got to take care of the White Walkers. And then they're in dire straits. Both dragons are dead. There's the army of the dead is overrun, and then all of a sudden they see that the Golden Company is coming over the ridge, and they're just like, oh my god, we're done for or something. Right. And then Jaime's at its head, and he has killed Cersei in the process.
Oh yes. Well, because maybe what's going to happen at least before that is, I think. Do you really think Cersei isn't going to start like, fuck right north? Yeah, right north, damn it. So she's going to start putting pressure on them, even on their home base. And because if you think about it, she's not going to take a chance, right? She's not leaving King's Landing, but she's probably going to be like, look, take all these lands.
So you think she's going to squeeze in between the army and the...
And probably go try to take Winterfell. They're all busy fighting those stupid people.
Yeah.
And that's when they're going to have no choice but to start fighting them, because we need a reason for them to fight.
Yeah.
And we can't have a thing where the whole half of the season, the Golden Army is just sitting there twiddling their thumbs.
Well, the most logical storyline would be that they prevail over the army of the dead.
But that can't happen early season. That's I mean,
not early season, yeah, but like maybe episode 6, and the Night King is banished to the north. Maybe even on his dragon, he just like flies into the north and is defeated or something, and and then. Maybe episode 5. So here's how I could see, if I was a writer, here's how I might propose an idea for a better idea. So we're in the pitch meeting.
Yes.
I'm pitching you an idea, and you come up with a better idea if you can. So
you have to start with not this, but
so episode 5, there's the big battle between living and the dead, and they prevail. A bunch of people die, but they prevail.
Yeah.
And the Night King is the only one who survives with the dragon, flies north, far away.
Yeah.
Okay. Then episode 6, we have a massive battle between Team Jaime and Team Cersei.
Uh-huh.
You have a huge battle there.
Yeah.
And again, more people dying, more intrigue, more blah, blah, blah. And then the last episode, you have kind of wrapping things up where people start having different kingdoms. Maybe it'll be like the north will be one kingdom,
right,
and the south will be another. And then you have Sam looking up old books to recreate the wall to ward off the Night King and even the dragon or something. But there's always a threat that will be beyond the wall.
Yeah.
And the free folk will start to colonize the north and because there's a lot of room up there.
Right.
What do you think about you have a better idea than that?
Oh, I don't know if it's better, but I'm gonna go slightly a couple different pitches here, or not pitches, directions. Number one, the king's got to die. The Night King has got to die. It's gonna be by the Valyrian sword, and it's gonna be by Jon, and that's how he dies.
Okay.
So he will die, but he will kill that king.
Do you think the army they're all gonna die?
When he kills the king...
You got to give me episode. You got it. What episode?
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, first of all, they're fighting Cersei well before the final battle with the things. Because what's going to happen is that Cersei is not going to let up. Oh, sorry. Cersei's not going to let up. She's actually going to put too much pressure on them, and they're going to have to start fighting the stupid Golden Army, which they don't want to do. So Jaime...
Before the dead
Before
army.
the final. So Jaime's going to...
I can see that.
Yeah. Jaime's going to hatch a plan with Tyrion and all the others and blah, blah. Jaime's like, I got to go confront my sister, blah, blah, blah. So he goes to King's Landing, and that's the final confrontation with Cersei in which she dies by his hands. And now they have the remaining of the Golden Army at their command to finish the battle up north.
Okay.
They
I
go,
can see that.
they finish
like
the
that.
battle. He kills the Night King and he dies in the process. And then in the aftermath, they all realize the foolishness of one throne to rule them all. So they divvy up the lands in a nice way.
Actually, I like yours better.
Spring comes back to the north.
I like yours better because it's like you gotta have the army. You gotta have the living versus the dead as the final battle.
Yeah,
that makes sense. But it's hard to imagine how you would work into the plot that Cersei would attack when, but before they get cut down.
That is a little tricky. Now I will say though, they broke through Eastwatch.
Yeah,
which is right at the sea.
Yeah.
But they can't go on the sea. Well, okay. And then the second thing is Cersei is going to become a White Walker. Wouldn't that be crazy if they turn Cersei into a White Walker? That would be annoying as hell.
Yeah.
Imagine a Cersei, but not a zombie Cersei, a Cersei White Walker.
So let me blow your mind with one final detail here. And I didn't tell you this before because I thought that they might reveal this plot detail in this season, but they didn't, and so I'm 99.99% sure they're not gonna bring it up in the next season.
Okay,
but Catelyn Stark is alive.
Okay, I had heard this.
Oh,
and I wanted to ignore it.
Yeah.
And there was even a fan theory that she made an appearance in one of the scenes this season. Did you hear that?
No.
When Brienne is fighting or sparring with Arya,
Yeah.
there's a lady in the distance that you see walking by, and fans freeze framed it, and it looked, she was wearing the kind of clothes that, that blah, 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 but it looked sort of like ghostly a little bit or something.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, who knows? But in the books, she very quickly starts to show up again after the Red Wedding.
Really?
And she's I think the Lord of Light has raised her from the dead.
But is she a human or is she a dancer?
They don't actually, from my memory, because again, it was 15 years ago I read these books, they don't focus on her very much. And she's basically just like this rumored figure that has a bunch of people following her, kind of like the Brotherhood without banners.
I see.
She was kind of like a Thoros character.
Okay.
And she was roaming, the countryside, wreaking havoc on Lannister people, I think. And I kept waiting for her to show up at some point in the books, or in the TV show, and she never did. And I'm so glad, because when she came back to life in the books, I was like, come on.
Yeah.
It's like, why?
Yeah.
Let it go.
And that feels really hard to pull off at this point because they...
No.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just like Ned comes back.
Yeah.
I'm here. Wait, we killed you.
Yeah.
Not all the way.
Right. That's how it felt in the books. It was like, what? Anyway. So that was an epic episode of Game of Thrones season 7. You and I have been talking for 1, 2, 3+ hours. And I thought this episode would just be 45 minutes.
Oh, wow. And we have to record how many episodes tonight?
Just this one, you fricker. Well, Berto, thanks for going with me on this episode.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Listeners out there, if you've been listening this long,
right?
My goodness. I don't know what to say.
Kudos to you. What are some of the sayings in Game of Thrones that we could give them? Chaos is a ladder.
Vala Morghulis.
Vala Morghulis. Oh, what's the fire one? Draconis.
All right. Well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle. If you want to listen to more Game of Thrones episodes that you haven't heard, you can go to psychologyinseattle.com. I have a page that's just for Game of Thrones episodes. So do that. Do that now. Thanks for joining. Please take care of yourself because
you deserve it.